A show about speedrunning games all under $20 or roughly around $20. I'm Midnight Vesper and I'm going to be your host for this show. If you're new to the bargain bin, here's how it works. For more current slash digital games, that's the word I was looking for. We're going to be using digital stores like Steam, GOG, itch.io, Ubisoft, Epic, etc. to look at the list slash MSRP price. For retro games, we'll be using a wide assortment of price charting websites and looking at the loose price of the game. We do not count sales or discounts at the time because they vary from time of purchase. Couple announcements real fast. Frame Fatales will be having its next all-women speedrunning event, Flame Fatales, starting this Sunday, August 21st to the 27th. Marathon schedule is out now. Type !FF in chat or go to gamesdonequick.com/framefatales for more information. Prize submissions are also open until yesterday. So they are open, they are not there. So prize submissions have closed. And of course, can't wait for that. Check out the highlights channel, which features some standout moments from our hotfix shows. Use !highlights in Twitch chat to learn more. And check out Games Done Quick on Instagram to get some bite-sized clips from our hotfix shows and see what happens at these events. We got some more stuff coming up, but first I want to talk about today here on the hotfix. We have stacked shows, not just for this one, but for She Is Speed as well. We have an amazing showcase coming up. Great games all over the place. And later on, we're going to be showcasing an amazing Metroid Prime run. But first, I wanted to go off and go straight into Mordor, I believe, for Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. It's been a while since I've read a little bit of Tolkien there, Zojalix. Did I get it right? I think I got it right.
Well, I mean, as you should know, one does not simply walk into Mordor. But this is Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. Yeah, we're just gonna forget about that really cool trailer that was playing. Am I good to get everything started? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I hear.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, we are going to be playing this game fast, obviously. One thing we're going to be doing real quick before we actually start the run is I'm going into this already completed file that I have, quitting out and saving. And what this allows us to do is this game has a bunch of FMV cutscenes. They're direct clips from the movie. But if I go into that file and I quit out and save, I can skip all of them. This is a GameCube exclusive thing due to there being two different ports. Two different companies that ported the GameCube. The original game was developed by Stormfront Studios, and then Hypnos Entertainment ported this game over to the GameCube a little bit later. So, we are going to be playing as Aragorn. So, since we get to play as Aragorn, we get to start from a new game. We're going to be also playing on easy because it is the fastest difficulty and easily the most fun. Normal and expert are quite punishing. So I'm going to go ahead and go in, and then we are going to be skipping this cutscene, and that will be when timer starts, so I can give a countdown. You guys are going to want to fasten your seatbelts because it's going to get real fast. All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so we're going to be immediately starting off with a 3-minute auto-scroller, but this auto-scroller is actually super important because I have to do something really difficult. I have to count to either 6 or 7. I know, it is really tough. The reason that I have to do it this way is because we're going to need to be getting a specific amount of EXP. The EXP from this level does carry over, even though we are playing as Isildur right now, because Isildur is essentially a carbon copy of Aragorn. And for some reason, I don't know why the developers did it this way, the EXP that you get from the prologue carries over. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, hey, why would you not just take this auto-scroller to get as much EXP as possible? Well, Aragorn will actually not go past level 2. He will hit level 2 by the end of the next level, and he will stay there. So we don't need to get too much EXP, because if we get too much, then the end of the level, when it tallies up how much EXP we have gotten, it will take a really long time. And so what we are doing is we are getting into perfect mode. And how we get into perfect mode is, you see in the bottom left corner, there is this damage meter that is showing up. And when that fills up, we get into perfect mode. And what perfect mode is essentially we have done a lot of damage without taking any damage. Honestly, I think I should be fine. We'll be fine. If not, I can make it work. So, that damage meter, as it fills up, will give us a specific kind of kill. And there are 4 different kinds of kills that we can get in this game. Fair, good, excellent, and perfect. The amount of EXP we get is determined by which kind of enemy we kill and what type of kill we get. So by getting perfects on these shield guys, we get a lot of EXP. That's why I waited for the first 45 seconds, because I didn't want to take out the hatchet guys, or as I will call them, Beyblades, because they spin around a lot and they have this really annoying spin attack. So they're Beyblades in our community. But I got about 5 or 6 kills, maybe, I think I got 6. We'll find out when I look at my EXP that I get at the end of this level. But that, getting them in perfects will make it so I'm getting as little kills as possible, but also maximizing the amount of EXP that I am getting. That is something that is extraordinarily important, and it will be something that we will be using throughout the entire course of this run, by making sure that we can maximize our EXP input by minimizing our kill input. Because we want to, as I've said before, we want to get as few kills as possible, but as much EXP as possible. And I will be explaining kind of why it is that way at the end of this level, when there is a result screen that'll be popping up in about, well, there's going to be a quick little end cutscene, and then it will be popping up at the result screen, because we're at the end of the prologue right now. So as you can see, it's a nice kind of chill start to the run, and I know that I said it's going to get really fast, as we've just had a 3 minutes of just really not doing much except counting to 6, but after this point, it gets really fast, and there's a lot of technical things that we are going to be doing throughout this run. So here we can skip this cutscene, and this is the result screen that I was talking about. This one was super fast because we got exactly the amount of EXP that we needed, and we can just not save because saving is slow, and move on to our next level, Weathertop. Weathertop is a pretty technical level. We have these ring wraiths that we are going to be fighting, and we are going to be fighting them by doing this very specific combo that I messed up and ended up in perfect mode way too early. But hopefully I can make it work. So what we want to do is we want to kill these ring wraiths quickly, and you're probably like, wait, why are you saying that you did that bad when you killed them very quickly? Well, in this last phase of these, with these ring wraiths, there are 2 ring wraiths that we're going to be fighting at the exact same time, and they can be really chaotic to try and figure out, to try and maneuver around, and like right here, specifically, this one does not like to go into a good spot. Oh, my torch ran out. But normally we would want to just be in perfect mode at the start there, just so that way we can hit them twice each and be done with it. But thankfully we still were able to get through that pretty much without any major hiccups. And we are not going to be getting any upgrades in this first level, and we can just keep on moving on to our next level, Gates of Moria. Gates of Moria is a pretty technical level because there's a lot of movement options, and the movement in this is going to be extraordinarily precise, strictly because of the goblins. There are going to be hordes and hordes of goblins that are going to be chasing us throughout this level. And the reason that there are so many is because they don't despawn if you run past them at a certain point. So even though we will be running past them and avoid them, they will be following us forever. Which can be kind of annoying, but thankfully, because I've played this game a lot, I can do a pretty decent job at avoiding them, but it won't be until later on when they really become an issue. So here's Gimli. He's going to go over and get himself into a lot of trouble, but with this dramatic slow motion shot, we'll save his life. So here we got archers. They're, again, we're killing that one guy because he's in our way and we don't want to try and like run past him. Just killing him just gets him out of the way. It's probably faster if you can squeeze by him, but it's one of those things that it doesn't make a huge difference. So here's where the level is going to get pretty chaotic, because all of these goblins are going to be finding us. These little boulders are going to explode and they're going to have goblins. The wall literally poops goblins. I don't know why it does that, but you know. Sometimes you just don't question the bowel movements of a cliff. So here we're coming up to a lake. We're going to be running alongside this lake to avoid, well, the goblins are going to be popping up out of the water. Yeah, we're just going to ignore that goblin that got pulled back into the water. That won't be relevant at all, and for about, 10 more seconds. But essentially, we don't want to wade like we just did there for a few seconds, but that one's kind of unavoidable. When we wade, it's slower movement. And we do have a movement option for it, but I will be explaining it later when it becomes significantly more relevant versus that whole section. That was really good movement there. So this is the Watcher in the Water. The Watcher in the Water, we fight him just like you would fight him as a kid, only we don't get whipped by a lot of the tentacles. Basically, the boss is going to have these tentacles that are going to pop up out of the water, and we're going to parry the tentacles, we're going to slash at them and cut them, and then the boss is going to pop up out of the water, and we can shoot him, and we can get some pretty phenomenal RNG there. That was absolutely ridiculous.
Was that also from the same creature from Resident Evil 4?
Maybe. I've never actually played Resident Evil 4, so I don't know.
Oh.
I have never touched a Resident Evil game. Don't cancel me, chat.
I mean, video game characters do need to, they gotta get careers eventually. It may have been the same creature.
That's very fair. All right, so we bought 2 abilities there. We actually did some menuing there. We did, Isildur Swift Terror and Ranger Fury. These are going to be 2 very, very, very important abilities that we're going to be getting. Isildur Swift Terror is a combo that we have that is AAY, and it allows us to, as you can see, instantly get into perfect mode. Normally it's not actually that instant. That was just extraordinarily... the enemies were extraordinarily well positioned, and so it allowed us to get into perfect mode really fast, which is exactly what we need. Because in this section, it's going to look like an auto-scroller, but it actually isn't. It is very not an auto-scroller. I have had many runs die to these goblins. And the reason I say that is because we want to kill goblins quickly. And but we also need to be in a very specific position while we are killing the goblins. Hence why I'm playing back here rather than running right up to the door. And this was something that was not actually solved until about a month or 2 ago. And it was solved that way by myself after spending way too much time watching this one section across years of runs and runners to try and figure out what the heck caused this section to go faster for some people and slower for others when the EXP never matched up and the kill count never matched up. So what was the issue? And I realized after researching it for so long that it was all about the position of the character. I don't know why the developers made it that way, but if you were getting a lot of kills when you were playing closer to the middle of the level, which you're like, bro, you're not close to the middle of the level, you silly fool. Well, that is because I need to get into perfect mode, and I can't do that with my bow. But if I can stay over along this side, and I'm getting actually kind of bullied right now, the goblins have caught on to my tricks, and I don't really appreciate it, but at the same time, that's just the nature of running RPG games, is you have to hope and pray that enemies do cooperate. But we want to get into perfect mode, again, because we want to maximize our EXP output. And then also a nice thing about being in perfect mode is, oh geez, that was really fast, holy cow. The thing with that, okay, hold on, I need to focus here. Oh crap, this is not good. Oh no, I don't know if I'm in perfect mode or not. This might be really scary. Nope, I am not in perfect mode. Okay, I got really unlucky there and a goblin hit me while I was doing that loop on the troll, which is pretty much as unfortunate as you can get, because normally you would want to be in perfect mode for this because you can get a very, very fast kill, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get it because then I would be in perfect mode, which would then allow me to do 2 shots and finish it off. Also, since it wasn't a perfect kill, I didn't end up in being level 4, which is exactly what is necessary to do this next level really fast. So we're going to be playing kind of a lot by ear for this next level. We're just going to be kind of winging it. A lot of the strats are still going to be the same, but we won't have a bow upgrade that we need. But it's fine, because I actually, in the one practice run that I did of this category, the same thing happened, so I'm actually more familiar with playing at level 3 at this point. So this is Amon Hen. We are going to be spending a lot of this level probably on the ground because these Urukai enemies have this really obnoxious ability that when you see them do this overhead swing. When they do that overhead swing, they get this super armor that is the worst. And the reason why it is the worst is because I can't one-shot them in perfect mode, but also every time they use it, I either have to parry it or I will find myself flat on my keister with nothing to do except cry. So we're gonna hopefully not get hit by that. And one of the reasons why the bow upgrade here is super necessary is because the archers don't get one shot in perfect mode. The regular Urukai do, but the archers don't. And you're probably thinking, but speedrunner, why are you killing enemies? Killing enemies is slow. Well, actually, if you look up in the top right corner, this level actually demands that you kill enemies. And the reason why it demands that is because if we don't kill the enemies, this other meter that you see showing up there will lead to the demise of Mr. Frodo Baggins, which is not really what you want when you're trying to take the ring to Mordor. Oh yeah, we will not actually be seeing Mordor. If you guys were like excited about Mordor or something, you will not be seeing that. I'm sorry to disappoint, but this is the Two Towers, not the Return of the King. And yeah, so we're gonna run over here. Fire is literally nothing. We can just let it burn our flesh. We'll be fine. Alright, so Frodo just cleverly hides behind a tree and nobody sees him. I think for all you D&D players, I think that's what you would call a natural 20 on your stealth check. Holy heck. I've been talking so much that I legitimately am like, okay, what am I doing now?
I'm just thoroughly impressed that they had the Darksaber in this. Every time every time you get perfect, it just turns into a lightsaber. That's interesting. That's an interesting mechanic.
Yes, I never even thought about that as a Darksaber, and now I will never be able to unsee that. You might have just ruined that. Also, this is supposed to be Middle Earth, not a galaxy far away, so you're really making me question my loyalties here.
Well, Middle Earth could still be, in a land far away, or in a galaxy far away.
Fair. That is very fair. Alright, so this is the bridge fight. This fight's chaos, because you're surrounded, and being surrounded with enemies that can knock you down all the time is not the most fun thing in the world. That's why I use that Ranger Fury ability that we got, because then I can just take out a good chunk of enemies and then utilize perfect mode to shred through the final remaining enemies that we have before we then go into our next boss fight, Lurtz. This is the fight where the stuntman for Lurtz threw the knife at the Aragorn actor, and the actor decided, heck it, I'm Aragorn, and he hit it out of the sky out of pure reflex. So for the first phase, we have to shoot him 6 times because we don't have our bow upgrade, which is a little unfortunate, but again, it's not really that big of a deal. It's really only about a 2-second time loss. But now we're going to have a really difficult strat coming up. I'm going to be standing... I'm going to get awkwardly wrapped around everywhere, but that's fine. We can still, in theory, do this strat as long as... Okay, he is not cooperating, and I don't appreciate it. So, come on, buddy. There you go.
Why does it...
Oh, boy.
Why does this boss kind of look like the Predator?
I don't know. I never thought about that. So that was not how that fight was supposed to go. Lurtz did not cooperate, but that's okay. We still were able to back it up, and it still looks fast. I recommend if you want to actually see what that should look like, check out my world record of this game. I got a 47:57 about a month ago, and I ran this for a GDQ Community Spotlight. Oh man, I don't even remember how long ago. It was, I think, either early... Oh boy, I just bought a move I didn't want to buy, but that's fine.
Extra content.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, I don't even remember when the Lord of the Rings Community Spotlight was, but with that, I got... The world record at that point wasn't even at a... It was at 40... it was a 49-minute time, and I was going for the 48, and now we've just achieved the first 47 within like the last month, which has been an absolutely incredible and really difficult grind to get, because as you can see, this game can be quite a bully. But it's, it's my favorite speed game. I've been running this game since fall of 2018. I have a huge soft spot in my heart for this game. So this is Fangorn Forest, my personal favorite level, because there's so many really awesome strats that get used. This is a wood troll. We're going to do this fun little fierce attack loop and then do a Ranger Fury to kill him really quickly. This fierce attack loop that I do is I'm pushing Y at an interval of about once every half a second. And what that does is it allows me to do just one attack but don't swing down. If I swing down, then the troll will retaliate and I will get knocked on my butt. And we don't want to get knocked on our butt because that's slow. But by doing that half a second interval, I can keep him stun locked, and then after doing 5, I can do 1 Ranger Fury to finish him off. It ends up being a super fast fight, and it makes that troll look like an absolute punk. So here we're going to be on this river, and we are going to be running along the left side of it, so that way we aren't wading. When we do wade, our movement tech that we have to be able to utilize is we're going to be turning around and then backwards hopping. That then allows us to go, well, fast through the river, which is really nice, because otherwise then you would just be left... well, and I have to count to 5. It takes a lot of focus to count to 5, believe it or not. But it allows us to move through the water super fast and not have to trudge through it very slowly like I remember doing as a kid and thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I want to cry. I just want to get out of this water. And I probably did cry, because I was quite the crier as a little kid. So this is the Horde fight. I'm doing a really, really precise strat, and okay, that was close. I might have just messed myself up there, because I do that like 9 times out of 10, where you get knocked down, this fight turns into a lot of chaos. It looks like I might actually be kind of recovering it.
So what you're saying is even though you got down, you got back up again.
I did get back up. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention it, but we were in Fangorn because, well, they were taking the hobbits to Isengard, and we had to stop them. So now here we are in Fangorn. Hi, Mr. Beyblade, can you go away? So with these trolls, we can actually abuse their retaliation by doing 3 down swings on our fierce attack, and then doing what's called a jump back cancel, which is at the end of an animation, or during any single animation, if we swing down, the animation finishes, and then I immediately jump back, we don't have to wait for the animation to finish out. So then, we can then get into perfect mode, and as you can see, one-shot those trolls, even though the game developers made those trolls to actually be stronger than the other 2 trolls that we fought in the level. And that finishes off Fangorn Forest, and we can now move on to Plains of Rohan. Yo, I just golded that!
Nice!
What? Oh my gosh. I actually golded 2 splits in that Fangorn, which was incredible. Oh my goodness. That might actually have just been the fastest ever Fangorn in an any percent run. Like, that was disgustingly good.
Let's keep it up.
So this is Plains of Rohan. We are going to be fighting a lot of enemies in this level. And what we do is we're going... Well, there's... As you can look up at the top right corner, there is this other meter that has shown up. Because, this is a game that just really enjoys meters. I don't know why, but they do. But what this meter means is we have to defend these villagers, and if all of these villagers die, then, Gandalf, where are you shooting that? That was not... What? You're supposed to shoot the door, yo weirdo! Okay, anyways, If all of the villagers die and that meter drains, then we will fail the level, which is really, really unfortunate. But we're speedrunners, so we can actually go super fast. And for some reason, this level tends to cooperate with enemies. I'm going to kill these 2 archers here, though, just so that way they are not annoying later and they don't kill a lot of our villagers later on. Normally, I wouldn't do this in a PB attempt, but I really just want to be safe. So, yeah, these 2 guys are here. We don't like them. We can just ignore them. That's an unfortunate villager. And then we are going to Swift Terror this guy to fill up our damage meter a good chunk, because we want to try and fill it up as much as possible when we hit this fight. Which, wow, these Urukai were in a weird position. I don't think I have ever seen them there before. And no, I will not say the thing, because I don't... Okay. Shoot the Berserker, please. Aragorn! So, as you can see, the auto-targeting in this can be a bit of a bully. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The meter's starting to drain. Once I get in here, though, I'll be fine. Okay, we're good. Everything is fine. Alright, here we go. So, this is the final fight in the level. There's going to be this couple that's going to get chucked into a building that we have to save. And there's going to be, believe it or not, another meter that's going to show up. And if this meter drains, the level fails. It does not matter how good your meter of actual villagers are. But we don't really care about that other meter, because we can kill enemies quickly by abusing our perfect mode ability. Unless we get knocked on the ground. Oh, hey, and I broke the thing, so we saved them anyways. But we can just kill everybody, and that will then finish off the level. I'm going to run over here and grab an EXP pickup in the downtime of the cutscene before the cutscene hits, because it makes it a lot easier. So yeah, that was Plains of Rohan. We have 5 levels left in the run, and you're probably like, wait, you have 5 levels left, but you're only halfway through? Well, the end game is fun. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I will leave you all in suspense. Yep, that was an interesting menu, but we made it work. Everything is fine. Alright, so this is Westfold. Westfold is the level that we always end with a bang. And if you can understand why I'm saying this now, I am proud of you. But you will get it by the end of the level, why we end this level with a bang. There are a lot of explosives in this level. And so what we have to do is we have to get through this level and make a lot of things explode. Also, I don't know who this NPC is. They didn't decide, hey, let's put King Theoden here. What they decided to do was just, nah, we're just gonna make some random King's Guard guy, because, you know, heaven forbid we put an actual character from the movie in the game. We're gonna blow up this cart. This will take out a lot of enemies. So the nice thing about blowing enemies up on explosives versus actually killing them is we don't actually get the EXP for it, but they still die. So we can blow up enemies to our heart's content, and we don't have to worry about, oh boy, this is interesting. I'm just going to iframe abuse here, no big deal. But what we can do then is we can just blow a bunch of enemies up and not have to worry about the EXP that we have.
Is that
what?
Sorry, is that a situation like, you know, when the Nintendo 64 with GoldenEye you had paintball mode? Is that like an extra thing where it's like explosion mode where anytime you kill an enemy they explode?
Oh, I wish. I know that there is a cheat. There's a cheat that you can unlock that we can't unfortunately show up in an any % capacity, because you don't actually unlock the ability to cheat until you've beaten the game. But there's big head mode. And I've never even thought about actually running with that for a marathon for the NG Plus category that we have, which I feel kind of sad about, but, you know, it's fine.
I feel like that needs to happen at some point.
I think it does, too. I totally even forgot that it existed until now. So now that I know that it's a thing, I almost feel obligated to play with big head mode on. So here's the lake. This part's kind of scary. I'm hoping that we get the enemies to cooperate. Awesome, they kind of did. Nope, they did just what we needed to do. Perfect. In my last marathon run there, I got absolutely trolled and I ended up dying. And so, but there, yeah, we just ended the level with a bang, just like I said we would. By hitting an explosive cart to cause a chain reaction of explosions, and we can end the level.
So the NPC that was replaced there that you said, was not anyone else, has the community decided to name this character by chance?
Oh my gosh, we have not actually named him. The only label that we have is he's a King's Guard. Why have we not named him? We literally named a random Urukai captain because we felt like it for Return of the King, and we named him Chad. So now I feel like we need to name this King's Guard. So, this is Gap of Rohan. This is a really, 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 really fast level. This is the second fastest level. We already played the fastest level in the run, if you can remember, about 25 minutes back. But we're going to be fighting these two wargs here, and if we just do our little Ranger Fury here, they die. Our party members actually are decently competent and can kill enemies in this game, believe it or not. Actually, GDQ chat, why not? Let's put in your name, let's put in some name suggestions, and I'll pitch whichever one I like the best. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to be doing this little, strat here that, oh boy, this is, nope, that's fine, that works. That didn't go exactly as it normally does, but it literally did not end up being a problem. So now that we've killed the little side enemies there that we have to kill, we can manipulate Sharku's movements. Sharku is the name of this boss here. And once he gets to this third charge that he already did, he's going to come up on his hind legs, and we can just run along to the side of him and do a Ranger Fury in one shot.
Whew.
So it makes that fight so much fun. It's probably one of, if not my favorite strat in the game. And now we have entered the late game. We have 3 levels left in the run. And the first one is going to be an 8-minute auto-scroller. It sucks. Up in the top right corner, you will see this meter, then kind of like this little map of the wall that we are on. This is a spot where if that fills up, we will fail. If it doesn't fill up, we win. And all we have to do is run around and kick down the ladders. The elves will not be kicking down the ladders, but they will be killing enemies and kind of doing population control for us. So we can just run around and happily kick down ladders. You kick down around 200 ladders before. Oh, I'm seeing so many Bobs. Is that a Jared? Steve? Jimothy?
Jimothy was one that I saw up there too.
Yep, I see Jimothy. I see Petunia.
I saw King's Guard Kyle. King S Guard.
King's Guard Kyle? Oh my gosh, chat, you are not letting me down at all.
Oh, someone said
someone
said they should be named Isengard.
Isengard. Cletus. I see Cletus. I feel like Kingsguard Kyle is a good one. Jimothy is a good one. Cletus is also a fantastic one. This is why you should never trust an elf. That's funny. How about the dwarf underscore tosser? If we're gonna name him dwarf underscore tosser, the underscore has to be mentioned every single time.
And I will say real fast that if you're enjoying this and you're watching it on YouTube, we do stream live on Twitch every weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. Just head on over to twitch.tv/gamesdonequick.
And if you guys have been enjoying this run, I literally speedrun this game way too much. I've been running this game since the end of 2018, and I love this game so much. So if you want to watch more of this run and just enjoy hanging out, I love hanging out in chat, I know, with my own chat, so please follow me on Twitch. You can check me out on Twitter. I don't really post anything except my complaints about the upcoming Lord of the Rings show. Bob Sir Uncle, what kind of a name is that?
I enjoy the fact that that's a guard. So someone said that the name should be I Sen.
I hate that. But at the same time, I love it. Oh my gosh. Also, if you guys are watching this and you're thinking, hey, this run looks like a ton of fun to play, join us. This is the bargain bin, so you know this game is not that expensive. I have bought this game 4 different times because I'm terrible at taking care of my game discs, and every single copy I have bought for under $10. And so it's really easy to get into. Also, we allow emulator. So if you don't want to spend money on it, but to try it out, you can run the game on emulator. It's really easy. This game is super accessible. We have an amazing community. We also have a community event that's coming up in October where we were going to be doing a community race for every single character. And it's about a 4-hour category, 4.5 if you die once. It's a really good time. It's a great run. Our community is fantastic. Yeah, the reason why we're doing this all characters race in October is because this game turns 20 years old in October, and we wanted to do a celebration for it because a lot of us who run this game, we have a very tiny but mighty community. Yes, it is very easy to learn the route. As long as you can understand the combos that are done, as long as you can understand the mechanics of the run, and I even created, to help aid this, a mechanics tutorial that will then make it a lot easier to learn it because you can get an idea of how each of the mechanics work, how I even, as part of the mechanics tutorial, have a basic introduction to every single enemy that we fight. It is a very in-depth basic tutorial, as I like to call it, because it doesn't go into a lot of the intricacies of how hitboxes work, because honestly, those are things that none of us have had the time to figure out. Other than just we know that they're kind of whack. But yeah, this game's super easy to get into, so I highly recommend it. We have a Lord of the Rings Discord that you can join. We also have a dedicated Lord of the Rings EA Games Discord, so if you really enjoy, like for me, the main games that I run are Two Towers and Return of the King. Those are my 2 most ran games. So we made a separate Discord for just that sect of games: Two Towers, Return of the King, Third Age, Conquest, and Battle for Middle-earth, so that way they can have very detailed and focused discussion there. But again, we also do have our massive Lord of the Rings Discord to bring everybody together. I say massive, but to me, we have a couple hundred members, which feels really big to me because I'm used to the most I've ever seen in a game that I've ever actually actively ran for any long period of time was about 4 or 5 runners. Other than running when I ran Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix for a little bit when Gummy Skip first was being implemented into runs.
So I have to ask this real fast because you said you have a Discord for all of the Lord of the Rings. Is the name of the Discord one Discord to rule them all?
Get down!
It should be. I feel like, wow. I feel like I need to just change it now because wow, I can't believe I never thought about that. I have been obsessed with Lord of the Rings for as long as I can remember. And yet, I never thought about naming it that. We have a marathon, a Lord of the Rings community marathon that we have in September that we're calling One Marathon to Run Them All. But, well,
yeah.
Why would I never think about saying one Discord to rule them all?
Well, it's out there now.
Well, now I'm just going to change it. If anybody wants to fight me on it, they can deal with it. I don't know. It's a great name, and it's true. Our community, honestly, yes. I've always seen stuff on Twitter about when things happen in other communities. And I have to say that we have had an extraordinarily uplifting, encouraging, and drama-free community. And it's been absolutely incredible to be a part of. Okay, I was about to run into that catapult, which might have killed me, but I didn't die, so we'll take it.
Speedrun strats.
Yeah, speedrun strats.
You go into a catapult, it just catapults you throughout the entire, rest of the map. Or,
man, if only. Yeah, so if anybody who is in chat right now wants to see if there's any way that we could skip this level, we would love, like, we've had some interesting rewards given for it, but if that were even a thing that we could even potentially do, that would save 8.5 minutes on this run. So I would love to see this happen. Hey, we're done. Am I hyped for Amazon's take on Lord of the Rings or not? I am skeptically optimistic. I really want it to do well, but I'm terrified it is not going to do well. But that is just because I am terrified of I'm always terrified of my favorite franchise getting made, and I don't want it to be thrown into the dirt.
It really just depends on if they take any extra hobbits to Isengard at this point.
It's very true. If they take a lot of hobbits to Isengard, it will be fine. No, they just need to take a lot of hobbits to Isengard.
Okay, but actual question, because I did kind of see this on Discord, but I'm going to elaborate on that. I know you said you run this as well as Return of the King. Is there a reason why do you want to run the whole trilogy, or is there a particular reason why it's just those two?
Well, I actually run quite a few Lord of the Rings games. These are the ones that I just primarily run. I also have gotten into Shadow of Mordor, War in the North. I did run Battle for Middle-earth for a little bit. I had a small stint where I ran Third Age. But specifically, the reason why I run the Lord of the Rings is because as a kid, the Lord of the Rings was my life. I would watch Lord of the Rings all the time as a kid. And then I would run outside and I would grab a stick or a few sticks and pretend to be characters from Lord of the Rings, or I'd make up my own character. And for me, the world that Tolkien created just has this soft spot in my heart because of just the story that he told, the characters that he created, the world that he built. It just, in a weird way, it's a second home for me, even though it doesn't actually exist. And yeah, that's kind of like a way that I really like to describe myself in terms of the games that I run, is I run games of franchises that I was obsessed with as a kid and can't get over at the age of 21. So I run a lot of Lord of the Rings. I run a decent amount of Star Wars. I have ran some Kingdom Hearts games in the past. I don't run too much Kingdom Hearts anymore. Just strictly, not necessarily because of any particular reason other than just I'm very focused on Lord of the Rings and Star Wars at this point. I can't confirm or deny anything at this point, but I've talked and debated about getting into Pokemon, because Pokemon is another series that I have been absolutely obsessed with as a kid. And are still obsessed with, other than the fact that am terrible at actually keeping up with what's relevant in Pokemon news, because I live in a Gen 3 was the last Gen world, and that's just where I'm fine. But yeah, I don't know, the Two Towers and Return of the King specifically, I have stuck with because of they were the games that I played the most as a kid. I had both of them on PS2 as a kid. And I just recently actually sold my Two Towers PS2 copy, which was kind of hard to do just strictly for sentimental reasons. But I also needed it because my wife and I needed the money, and I knew I wasn't actually going to be playing my PS2 copy because it's very slow. Is there a route that uses the parry kill? Not yet. I am open to possibilities. So yeah, that's why I run the games that I run. It's a franchise that I absolutely love, and yeah. So that's a little bit about me. If you want, feel free to ask more questions. This whole level is just a lot of killing enemies. It's a lot of chaos too, because it's where a lot of runs go to die, because you have to be really good at managing enemies, and that's really hard to do sometimes. So feel free to ask whatever questions in chat. What is my favorite vision of the Lord of the Rings? The half? What do I do for work? I work at Verizon. I sell cell phones. And I'm sorry, I cannot give anybody discounts. You would be shocked as to how many people are actually asking that question. Or maybe you wouldn't be, I don't know.
So I will say, I know we talked earlier that when you go into a certain mode, it becomes a dark saber. I don't ever remember seeing a lightsaber on fire. So I could be wrong about the dark saber theory. I could be wrong about that.
So our Ranger Fury ability that we have bought earlier in the run has 3 different upgrades for it. It has the base Ranger Fury that we bought right away in the run. And then it has Wrath of Numenor where it glows blue. Which is just slightly more damage. And now we're at its fully upgraded state, which is Wrath of Numenor. And what Wrath of Numenor is it does the most amount of damage as well as it sets enemies on fire, which is something that is extraordinarily useful when trying to go fast. Because when enemies get set on fire, even if Wrath of Numenor, let's say, doesn't kill, if it doesn't kill, it still can set enemies on fire, and that damage over time that we get will 9 times out of 10 actually kill. Okay, I'm trying to shoot the Urkai here. I don't know if this is actually going to work. Okay, it didn't, but that's fine. We got that Berserker there. So, yeah, we're now progressing through this level. We have to protect this door. That's really all what we're protecting is a door because, why would we protect anything else? I'm going to be positioning myself over here in this spot because it actually will have the troll show up and walk towards me without him trying to throw anything at me. And so it allows that to be just something where we can just run up, do a quick Wrath of Numenor, he's dead, and we don't have to worry about anything. Oh, I haven't watched them early enough, the animated versions of the movies, and long enough to honestly be able to remember them. I have not watched the 1970s versions in a long time. So here's a catapult. This catapult is quite mean because there is a horde of enemies guarding it, and if we destroy it, then we then can end the level quickly. Now, the last time I ran this at a GDQ hotfix, I got this really random one-shot on the catapult that I have not been able to replicate since, nor has any other runner. So we're gonna try it. I don't expect it to happen, especially since I can't even get into perfect mode right now. I really would like to have the Dark Saber. Thank you. And we're just gonna do that. Okay, there are a lot of enemies here that are blocking me that I don't appreciate. Oh, I barely got that off in time. Okay, we're good. We're good. I'm sorry, Ray. I couldn't do the thing. I see you in chat, Ray. I couldn't do it because I don't know how it works. But I didn't die, and that's what happened to me last time.
That seems like something good.
It is very good. So, when I talked about the result screens and how the amount of kills we get makes them be longer or shorter, this is where you get to see it. This one is very long because we killed a lot of enemies.
I just during that cutscene, and I don't know why, but it made me ask, why did Legolas kind of look like Geralt from The Witcher? For half a second there, I was like,
because
what is Geralt doing?
both him and Geralt have very luscious hair, and if you're going to express any sort of like alpha male mentality, you need the luscious hair. Like Aragorn's got the shoulder length dark hair. It's just like absolutely gorgeous. Legolas has a long flowing blonde hair. Gimli has a big beard. I don't know. What does Gimli have in terms of his hair?
I mean,
to be fair, I have this prejudice against Gimli in this game because the developers just kind of forgot about him in terms of making his hitboxes in a way that makes sense. So his running's is hard, and it's not the most entertaining category in the world.
But he does have an axe.
He does. He does have an axe. And he can hold... Well, no, he can't hold his liquor. That was I don't know, maybe somebody will get that reference. I don't know. That is a reference to an extended edition exclusive clip in The Return of the King. I hope somebody got that reference, but it was what Gimli said right before he passes out when he's having a drinking game with Legolas.
I am sure someone will, and if not, someone on YouTube will.
I'm sure somebody will. I really hope somebody does. Alright, so now we gotta go save Legolas, because I know I did just talk about him having this whole alpha male thing, but don't worry about it, he will be fine. So we're going to actually be doing our final skip in our final trick in the run, and we're going to be going for this cutscene skip, and I just got whacked by a Beyblade. Ow. So what we are going to be doing here is we have to kill 2 very specific enemies. I don't want to go into perfect mode, and we're going to hit this guy and start running. And we just need to haul it, because we need to run past this specific trigger, which we have now ran past, so we did get the cutscene skip. If we didn't get it, then there would be this cutscene that would play of Gimli kind of like trying to be all cool, and then it doesn't really work because he still has the door get overran. Oh hey, Legolas killed everything. That's good. So here we are now. We know that we got the trick, and I can actually split on my foot pedal because Gimli yelled Uruk-hai. If we were to have killed those enemies up there, we would have lost about 15 seconds. Oh hey, Legolas just teleported. That's cool. What's up, dude? I don't know how you got down here so quickly. You had to have teleported.
I mean, we've already had the whole thing with the Darksaber, so I guess Legolas has force speed.
I mean, you know, we have. If you've watched the Hobbit movies, you've seen him run up falling rocks. So this can't really be too out of the ordinary to expect him to just like teleport or just hop down the wall like it's nothing. So this whole level, we're defending another door, believe it or not. And what we're doing is we were trying to, well, we got our archers on the wall thing that showed up, which is really good, because now I can shoot at these archers, and since I didn't start counting, I just wait until Gimli yells Aragorn, which then lets me know that I've killed all the archers. And now we have a horde of berserkers that are going to start coming in, which makes this level really difficult, because as you can see, it's already been a lot of chaos. But with the berserkers showing up, pretty much every single time they hit you, you fall down. So we try to do everything that we can to hit them without them hitting us. Oh, there goes the Rohan guard flying deep into that. He was sent to space by that catapult.
I liked how the enemies just spawned in the corner there. They just kind of just showed up.
Yep, they do that. Oh, time will be coming up here soon, by the way. So, because once these trolls are dead, that's time. So there are these 2 trolls now that are showing up. You don't remember trolls in Helm's Deep, but it's fine because, you know, it's deleted scenes. But all we have to do is just hit them with our Wrath of Numenor, and that one will kind of shimmy backwards and time.
Wow. Nice job.
That was very fast. That was easily the fastest marathon run of this game that has ever been done. That was a really good run, honestly. We had a few hiccups. We had a few hiccups early on, but I was less than 2 minutes away from my PB, so I cannot complain. I was 1 minute and 15 seconds off my PB.
That's really, really good, though. That's good.
So that is a very good... Getting a sub 50 in a marathon is very good. So yeah, if you guys like this run, you can join our Discord. You can check it out if you go to speedrun.com/LOTRTT. That is where there will be a link to the Discord there. So join our Discord. Enjoy the fun of Lord of the Rings memes and a bunch of Lord of the Rings runners who are dedicated to a game that they do, various games that they all love very much. And I just want to give some shout outs to specific runners in general. 7 Swag Muffin 7, my first major rival in this game, who we competed against each other, trading records back and forth all the time, all the way up until I achieved the first sub 50 in 2019. And Swag Muffin still wants to run, but unfortunately, IRL has kind of destroyed him in that sense. He works a lot. Other shout outs to Rylan Hand, another rival of mine in this game. He was the second person ever to get a 49 and is also the second person ever to get a 48 in Aragorn. Him and I have raced a lot. He is another incredible runner. He pioneered a lot of strats. He actually was the one who discovered that cutscene skip that we used early in that level, as well as Bloody Lifetime, another runner who doesn't like to admit that he's good at this game, but he has a 51, which is a pretty good time in this run. But he compares himself to me and Rylan, who plays it a lot more frequently than he does. Oh, by the way, The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King is coming in 2003. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that is really important to know.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great game, because after all, we just left and now we're trapped inside of Helm's Deep, and that's where the game ends, with you being trapped inside Helm's Deep. So we really don't know what's gonna happen. So when 2003 hits, we will know.
I'm excited.
Other shout outs to talk about is Caladair, a legend on the emulator. He's really good at this game. He has run pretty much every single character now and has pushed a lot of emulator times, as well as PJ Arts of Darkness, another emulator runner. Dino95HD, who is the only other person to have done an all characters run besides myself. So I want to give a shout out to him. Again, we have a very small community. Literally, all of those runners that I just mentioned, yeah, it sounds like a lot, but we maybe have 2 or 3 runners active at a time. And so to be able to have 3 runners active at a time and to have so many different names that I'm able to shout out, that makes me very happy, because I have had moments where I've been the only one running this game. So I love the community that we have, and I love being able to shout every single person out, because every single person has contributed to this run. I wouldn't be being able to put out a 49-12 for you guys if it wasn't for the community that we have. I also want to give a shout out to my mom, which is really, it's hard to do, because I was going to be, if you guys watched SGDQ 2022, Maxi Lobes ran the Return of the King Any%, and I would have been there on the couch with him, but literally 3 days before SGDQ, my mom suffered a brain aneurysm and passed away, and that just kind of threw off all of my plans for being able to attend SGDQ. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because my mom was always my #1 supporter of my speedruns. She watched as many events as she could. She didn't watch my ungodly graveyard shift runs, but she watched as much as she could. She would tune into my streams. She would always freak out whenever I got into any marathon, whether it been a marathon that I've ran 100 times or a brand new one. She was always a huge supporter, and I wouldn't be as motivated to continue to keep this up and to be here if it wasn't for her. So thank you so much, Mom, for everything that you've done. I miss you and I love you. I also want to shout out my wife. I don't even know if she watched the run, even though she's literally like one room over, but she's another big supporter of mine. She even got into speedrunning because of, she actually started doing co-op speedruns with me, and she did that because she wants to spend time with me and she knows how much I love speedrunning. So, yeah, shout outs to my wife. She even went out and bought my new mic because my other mic died right before this. So, yeah, thank you for being a huge support. Yeah, again, if you guys like this game, come check me out on Twitch, because I love speedrunning this game. I will actually start putting in a lot more time to the higher difficulties in this game, because they haven't really been touched. And so I really think that there's a lot of really cool potential for some of the higher difficulty stuff, because they are quite different, as well as all the other characters are very different. And I run everything. So check me out on Twitch. I would love to be able to hang out with you guys and just continue to speedrun this game that I love a lot.
Well, thank you so much for showcasing that amazing game. And I can't wait for 2003 for the next game to come out. But we do have some more of the bargain bin coming up here in a little bit, as well as afterwards with She Is Speed, a show about speedrunning, a show about speedruns by women playing games with women characters. There's going to be a Fantastic showcase. You do not want to miss that. But speaking of women characters, coming up next on the bargain bin is going to be Metroid Prime. So you want to stay here for that. We're going to take a small break where we get all that set up. So it's a great time to get up, stretch, everything else along those lines. Just don't forget your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch Hotfix channel. Help support our weekly Hotfix content. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy these weekly Hotfix shows. Once again, we'll be right back with Metroid Prime. Welcome back to the Bargain Bin. I'm still your host, Midnight Vesper, where we're showcasing games, $20 or a little bit around there. Great speed games for a good price. A couple quick announcements. Don't forget that Frame Fatales will be having its next all-women speedrunning event, Flame Fatales, starting this Sunday, August 21st, and going to August 22nd. Marathon schedule is, in fact, now out. Type !FF in chat or go to gamezonequick.com/framefatales for more information. And speaking of that, we have Samus Aran. That transition worked in my head, but it's okay. It's okay. We have Samus Aran going with Metroid Prime with some amazing speedrunners and some amazing names for speedrunners, Uncle Reggie and Toaster Party. How are you all doing today? I absolutely just really enjoy your names.
Oh, thanks. Doing well. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Whenever you're all ready. I'm excited for this Metroid Prime run.
All right.
Yeah, I think
we're doing the 100% category, so we have to pick up every single item in the game. We will know that we have done this when we pick up the last of 12 artifacts, and we get a fun little pop-up that says, hey, you did it. Good job. You didn't forget anything. So that's what we're looking to see.
Yeah, so I think if we're all good to go, we can get started. And there'll be lots of things to explain. There's a lot of stuff happening in this game, so we'll have a lot to chat about together.
Yeah, whenever you're all ready.
All right. Dad, would you like to do the official honors?
All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right.
All right, so just let's establish a little bit of foreshadowing. Drop a piece of information that'll be important later. Every room is in a box. You might not know what that means now, but go ahead and just keep that in the back of your mind. So for this game, I want to start. There's a lot of movement techniques we use. There's a lot of exploits and how the game works and how the players move versus how Retro Studios intends you to move. So probably the biggest bread and butter of our movement arsenal for this run is going to be dashing. So in that first room already, you saw some good examples of Reggie kind of moving quicker than intended. So basically in the base game, there's a combat dodge. So this is intended when you're fighting enemies, you can kind of strafe to the side quickly. If you know animation terms, it's very reminiscent of slow in, slow out. So Samus will accelerate quickly and then decelerate back to a standstill. And that kind of allows her to effectively participate in combat without getting hit. We can abuse this kind of slow in, slow out animation to perform this dodge. And part of the way through, if we let go of the lock, we will skip the second half of the dodge, which slows down the player. So here you can see he grabs the scan point and he's accelerating, and then he just lets go of the lock and he continues that momentum. And this works because just serendipitously, this game also has no sideways speed cap. So the game is checking to see if Reggie's moving at a max speed forward and backwards. It is not checking to see if he has that kind of large sideways speed. So
Cody's
a lot of this game is
today.
Yep. So this is a trick called Cody Ledge. So he's skipping probably like a 10-second sequence where it rides up a slow elevator by tricking the game into thinking he's stuck like that. Nice, well done. And when he's stuck in that corner, the game panics and it says, I don't know where to put you. I'll put you by the door. So we can kind of abuse more of the game's logic and functions to our advantage. So coming up here is kind of the hallmark of this tutorial. It's a boss battle to kind of teach you, moving while locked on, those kind of dashes and all that. So we're going to, breeze past it by manually aiming rather than using the lock-on to target Parasite Queen's head hitbox, which does about double damage. So
the intended strat is for you to scan the boss. The game is very, very happy to encourage you to scan things and to learn more about them, because the scan visor is useful in gathering information.
so he's gonna.
And it will automatically adjust. There we go.
Yep, so combined with that knowledge of the head's weak point, and switching back to power beam in between every missile lets him just rapid fire, dump all of his ammunition into her head, and make it look like she wasn't even a threat, which she really wasn't. So now begins the oh-so-stressful escape sequence, where they give you a very generous, right there at the bottom, a timer will appear of how long he has to get out of here. Being speedrunners, we don't need 7 minutes. We need way less than that. So he's going to
I'm
finish
very afraid.
Yes, be very afraid. So
Wait, is there an escape sequence in a Metroid game? That's crazy.
crazy to put at the beginning.
Ooh.
That's got to be like a first or something for a Metroid.
Never seen that before.
Ah, you said the thing.
So there was a big black box there. I managed to transition into the room before that game had finished loading. In this game, every room has a load trigger. So it's an invisible box that you walk through, decides, all right, you should load the next room so that it is visible when it comes time for you to walk through it. In certain instances, we can beat the load trigger. And you'll sometimes just see me like waiting in front of a door just because the room is waiting to load. Optical disk drive speeds are not great. Sometimes you can use that to our advantage. There's an out of bounds in the beginning of the game in this section called Frigate Wall Crawl, where after we beat Parasite Queen, you can do some kooky stuff and go out of bounds and skip a whole bunch of stuff. That wall crawl causes me physical pain, so I don't do that.
Yeah, the 100% category is long and hard enough that we don't need to be throwing in a reason to reset over and over at the beginning. So, and yeah, some runners find wrist pain for the exact technique that's required. So, yeah, we're just hopping through these tunnels the intended way, but a lot faster than the developers probably thought you could. So.
There are several different things that we can do. Oh yeah, this is a good.
Oh,
Foreshadowing, yes. Who's that?
Oh, no,
I thought they were dead.
So canonically, this takes place after the very first Metroid, correct?
I don't
Or is it
exactly know.
Yeah, it is,
the lore
because
too
the
much, yeah.
baby hatches in at the end of Samus Returns. Or Return of Samus, or whichever one it's actually on the Game Boy.
All I know is that Ridley there is reconstructed using technology.
Dude, he's a cyborg.
So it wouldn't be a Metroid game if there weren't items to collect, and there's no better way to make items to collect than to take a bunch away. So
We're going to see a
you'll see
pop-up here. Yeah.
Yeah, basically starting from scratch. So that morph ball is using to roll around quickly on flat floors, that's gone. Charge beam is annoying to not have. The uncharged power beam is really weak in this, so combat is pretty much a no-go until we get that. So here you can see, right, he doesn't have morph ball. Instead, what he's choosing to do is use the L button. So the L button is usually the button you use to acquire a lock on a target that can be locked onto. If there's nothing to target onto and he's just looking at free space, it'll actually just lock the player's movement so that he can kind of travel at a consistent speed. It'll let you move left and right, whereas normally pressing left and right on the analog stick would just turn like tank controls. So he's abusing the fact that it moves at a constant speed to do these, we call them L jumps. They basically just propel the player forward a little bit faster. Similar to dashes in that there's a slowdown period at the beginning of a jump. He's just using L to override that and get a little extra speed. So in rooms, for movement, he's really looking for scan points to dash off of, enemies to dash off of. If there's none of those, he wants to roll Morph Ball. And if he can't do any of those three,
Right there.
If he can't do any of those three things, he'll
arguably the
jump,
most important trick in the game, called Space Jump First. So originally you're supposed to go through, get a whole bunch of items in the vanilla order, and this is like, what, a third of the way through the game?
Yeah, it probably saves... In a speed run, it
time.
probably saves like 10 minutes, yeah. It's
Wow.
pretty crazy. You're supposed to go get Boost Ball and Fendrana and walk back through 2 full areas to get back to that. But they just put it tantalizing close to the start of the main part of the game. So starting from here on, we're out of the tutorial. Everything's open to us if we have the ability to get to it. The real route kind of starts here. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So you said earlier that like there are some times to where like certain areas wouldn't load, so you had to wait a second. And since you said this is kind of open, is the entire map open to you, or is it still kind of in that because of the limitations of the GameCube that there are still spots that you have to like wait a second for the map to kind of generate?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a real bargain bin game from 2002. So we don't have fancy computing to just load everything in memory at once, right? This is like calculator levels of memory we're talking about here. So the way the developers kind of got around making it feel like it's an open world is the game's split up into rooms, and you're always in a room. The room behind you is loaded, and the room in front of you is loaded. So what it's doing is you enter a room, it unloads the previous, it loads the next, and it just repeats that process over and over. And for the most part, they did a really good job of they basically play that game over and over, and they keep tweaking where the load should happen, and they fine-tuned it so that it feels like a pretty seamless experience. But
So we're going to be listening to one of the best tracks in the game here for a second. Because we have space jump boots, we're able to just skip the fight that happens going into that room where I got Morph Ball. There's a fight that you're supposed to do beforehand, and afterwards you pick up the item, and then you can roll out of this little tunnel. Being able to jump much higher than you should be at the beginning of the game, it allows you to skip it. And the music trigger just never goes, or like never gets loaded. It's after the fight is when it's supposed to put you back to normal music. So we're going to just listen to this until there's another trigger that we walk through that tells the game to play a different song.
yeah, the scripting in this game is very trigger based, so it's just a lot of physical triggers. We're lucky enough to have some nice external tools that let us look at these triggers, and that helps with routing, strat hunting, glitch hunting, and all that. So there'll be later times in the run where there's invisible triggers where Reggie has memorized their location and is able to navigate around them in ways that benefits him. So one interesting thing about this beginning section is that right at that part of Frigate where he lost all of his items, one thing that he lost was the missile launcher. And so in order to recoup that, right, he already has 5 missiles again. He doesn't actually have the missile launcher. He found an expansion, but thankfully those two are coded identically. The only difference is the text that appears on the screen. So he was able to find a missile expansion tank, and now he's using that expansion as if it's just the launcher. So there's a lot of items in these areas that he could get, but he's going to intentionally save them later for a backtrack pass where he's going to have a lot more energy and equipment available to quickly clean up.
Shoutouts to any
those
percent.
ruins. Yep. All right, so coming up is our favorite boss, and it's our favorite because it is an auto-scroller. But worse than an auto-scroller, it's an auto-scroller with RNG. So
This is bad.
All
That
right.
was close.
It wouldn't be a marathon if we weren't on the edge of our seats, so I should be thanking you. So this boss here will basically go for 3 cycles, and it has a vulnerable point that it will just hide until it decides that it's ready to show the world. So depending on the RNG values he rolls for this vulnerable point, he can save or lose a minute over kind of the average fight.
What we're looking for is to only just barely hear the song track for this start to loop. There we go. And some energy drops while we're waiting. So now that we've hit the first weak spot, wasps are going to continuously spawn out of the ceiling. I'm just going to farm them as I can for drops. I don't trust that wasp.
I personally don't trust any wasp.
And this boss is kind of still part of the, you could argue it's still part of the tutorial section. It's kind of designed to train the player to kind of, hold a combat lock, strafe around sideways, dodge obstacles. And Reggie's just going to, bypass all of that good game design by just standing on it. So that's a good...
They try really hard to encourage you to move around. They don't want you to be standing in one place. And there are even some enemies that if you move back and forth quick enough, they are very, very prone to missing. So the track just looped there. So this is slightly slower than average. It's not too bad.
Yeah, marathon luck would have you get the worst one, so that's good.
Grateful that didn't happen. I see some cool names in the chat room. Hi, folks. Hi. All right, so we just got morph ball bombs. This is going to allow us to do some really basic and really cool stuff as a ball. Like we can do little bouncy stuffs. Nice instant. Love to see it. This is going to become very important later when I start going out of bounds. Nice double instant. As the collision while out of bounds is considered sticky. So like, yes, you can stand on it, but you're not able to be considered like actually standing. You're just kind of sitting on top of it.
And that out of bounds movement pretty much comes right into play. As soon as we have the opportunity to, we want to really break this game in half and grab Ice Beam, incredibly early compared to the normal route. So it's here in Chozo. Right now there's Spider Ball, like a Spider Track, and Wave Beam and Ice Beam doors and all sorts of stuff. Boost Ball pipes, all that blocking him from just kind of getting to it. We're going to bypass all of that by doing a very, very well choreographed, very precise out of bounds sequence. Involving traversing several rooms. So the first step here is to get out of bounds, so that we can begin that journey. And what he's doing right here is he's setting up a slope jump. So we call it that because normally when you jump, you get a very specific, a constant amount of height from each jump. You can kind of abuse the movement in this game to get a slightly higher jump.
There we go.
By riding a non-standable or sometimes standable slope along a wall. So
this is where that every room is inside of a box concept comes into play. Ooh, nice save.
Nice save. So
there we
if
go.
it kind of looked like he was, playing with fly hack there for a second, that's him outside of the box. So in order to save on computation time, the game gets lazy and doesn't try to compute any kind of spatial collision detection or gravity or anything outside of the boundaries of a room. So Reggie's going to abuse that and kind of glide around various rooms and stuff by exiting this box and then going back in when he desires.
So you'll see there's like that weird like white little... Ooh, that room is not properly loaded. Oh no, it is. I just missed the transition.
Okay.
That's all right.
That could be worse. So yeah, we like this. So he went out of bounds in a room called Gathering Hall. It would have been really convenient and nice if he could just go out of bounds and just walk to where he wants to go. Unfortunately, this game isn't so simple. He needs to... There's a lot of systems in place, right? As I said, the developers really neatly designed the game to intricately load the rooms in a certain amount of time as you pass through them. A lot of that gets destroyed when you're outside of the play space. So he's hitting some of those invisible triggers. He's going to doors and interacting with them to trick the game that he is a casual player inside the game moving as intended. So The worst case scenario is that you try to go through a room and it's not there. So he's touching loading triggers, loading, and then telling the game that he's done in a room, he's moving to the next one.
So every time I have one of these like glitch-heavy games or categories for games, I always ask the question, how was this discovered?
Oh gosh. Yeah, you do that one.
A lot of
There we
nice.
go. That's
Okay.
a huge choke point right there, getting back in bounds. So I shot that door. The room was not loaded, so I shot the door while I was right next to it. Thankfully, it's a very small room, so it loads very quickly, which enables us to get in bounds.
Yeah, that's probably of the top 3 tricks he has to do. That's up there. So, yeah, good on Reggie for nailing that. To answer your question, Vesper, so that wall crawl right there was discovered very early on, and it's probably a lot of bored young adults just sitting with their GameCube, trial and erroring, just seeing what they can do. And it's quite amazing that they were able to do that without many tools. Right there, he skips a mandatory fight with a ghost by going around one of those invisible triggers. He still has to do it later, but he'll come back with super missiles, which will make that fight go a lot faster. These days, we have a lot more tools in the community made by a lot of really talented people that show us stuff like backface collision, so you know what you can stand on, what you can't, and we have a good understanding of the game's code. So these days, it's a lot more scientific approach, using kind of tools and engineering to discover new strats. But in the good old days of the early 2000s, it's trial and error.
Yeah, sheer determination.
A lot of hitting the reset button on your GameCube. So he's going to go for a trick. It's hard.
Yo.
Nice. Yo.
It's a micro time save. It just looks swag.
Yeah. It's a swag strat. I don't think you've gotten that once in practice.
No, I haven't.
Normally he just has to bomb jump up, but it saves like half a second if he could just roll into the pipe. So it's just a beautiful little optimization. This game's really
great.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, for being from 2002, this holds up really well. The GameCube, from a hardware standpoint, was really, really cool. It's basically a PC inside of a box. It has an IBM processor and what is an ATI graphics chip built into it.
No graphics chip. Yeah.
The first 3 Nintendo consoles, the NES, the SNES, and the N64, have a lot of vacant space in them. The GameCube is incredibly compact. They did not waste more than a couple square centimeters inside of the GameCube.
It's a very old school way of designing a product. After the generation after the GameCube, that was the Wii for Nintendo, or the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, stuff like that. They just kind of made it very modular, and it's a different artwork. It's really defines 2 eras of gaming. Right, so they're abusing the fact that there is a tree branch. It's there, you just can't see it. But Reggie knows it's there, and he's just gonna jump off of it like it's no big deal. So
you'll see a couple different times as I unmorph when I'm coming out of morph ball that there's just like a flash on the screen. Ooh, I'm getting whipped around. And cool, no missile drops. If the camera is obscured, you can do what's called an instant unmorph. There are in Prime 1, there are only a very few select places where you can do it, mainly coming out of a morph ball tunnel or in a couple rooms where there's something specific that you can put in between you and the camera. In the sequel to this, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes for the Nintendo GameCube, it's pretty free. You can just basically, anywhere there's a flat wall, you can stick the back of the morph ball against it and then just bomb jump and do an unmorph. It's pretty cool. You can use it to do a lot of like verticality and like skips and stuff.
basically a triple jump or double jump without the boots.
So this is Flagra. Flagra is the boss that you're intended to go to after getting bombs. Flagra really, really likes sunlight, so we're going to create a little bit of a vitamin D deficiency here. we shot that first solar panel, which you have to do in order to progress the boss fight. The remaining 3 can just be skipped entirely by doing some well-placed dashes and putting yourself on the outside of this bomb slots. This boss technically has quote-unquote health, but really it's just 4 bomb slots. Every bomb slot deals 25% damage to the boss.
Yeah, they're the only bomb slots in the game that don't check if the player's in them before accepting damage, so just goes straight to his health bar.
There we go. Nice. Not a single dash missed. Love to see it.
All right, so yeah, with that, we're kind of wrapping up our first pass through Chozo Ruins. I mean, really for this route, we wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. We're really looking for a couple items that are going to help make 100%ing this game a lot easier. So in each area, there's items locked by the spider ball, super missiles, and all 4 beams. So while he doesn't have those, he's not really in a mode to start kind of reaching that 100% objective. So he's gonna zip out of here through Magmor with this new Varia suit, and he's gonna try to collect those aforementioned items, and those will let him really start cleaning up and picking up items quickly. The other items in the game that I haven't mentioned, like Grapple Beam and Boost Ball and all that, those really aren't that necessary when it comes to collecting items, but they do make things faster. It's really the Spider and Supers and those Wave Beam and Plasma that are going to really unlock him to 100% this game.
So the any percent, which is my home category, and 100% categories differ greatly in the routes. Not only because you have to pick up everything in 100%, but because it's actually way faster to save some things for later. So any percent right there would do a trick called Early Wild, where you would abuse Goofy Collision to do an infinite bomb jump up the wall while lodged into a corner. The Sticky Collision makes the ball fall slower, which allows you to just lay bombs and climb the room, and your bomb inventory respawns faster than you can fall. But we don't do that here because we have to come back to Chozo Ruins later anyway. And there's a fight immediately after where you get the Artifact of Wild. And it involves killing some Chozo ghosts that are only vulnerable to Power Beam and Super Missiles, because the Super Missiles are a beam combo based on the Power Beam instead of a standalone item like in the 2D Metroids.
Speaking of vulnerabilities, 2 missiles to grab this artifact that casually probably required super missiles, but rather than making it explicitly vulnerable to super missiles, they just made it have the same health as super missiles. So,
how am I doing this?
And that's real nice that doesn't. Otherwise, we'd have to kind of route that in, and that'd be kind of slow.
Leftover strats.
And here's another one, charge beam up and set up. Yep,
there we go. There's some strats that might fall out of muscle memory here that I was working on labbing out during practice for this, but just didn't make sense to do because they're not super consistent. Oh, hell yeah. Heck yeah. Whoopsie. The collision in this game is very good. That's all I have to say about that morph tunnel not letting me in.
You touched on something
that right there, you saw I did an instant unmorph. The cool thing about instant unmorphs is if you do one within 22 frames of leaving the ground, you can do what's called typically we call them BSJs, or bomb space jumps, because you use bombs to lift you higher off the ground, but they're really just instant unmorph jumps. I did one there to land on a little piece of collision behind me and speed up the progression towards that door. Got some weird cycles in this room. Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't know if you were working. It begs the question because you said there was a 22 frame window. I don't fully remember with this version, was it 30 frames or 60 frames? And
This game runs at 60 frames.
Okay. Couldn't fully remember, and I assume that there are tricks that make it within that certain frame window to make it that help with the 60 frames.
Kind of. A lot of the frame dependent tricks end up being like fractions of seconds. So like the BSJ, 22 frames of leaving the ground, that's within that's a third of a second.
Yeah, about.
There's another that like super invisible box that I was walking around in the Gathering Hall room in Chozo Ruins. When you come out of the ether and back into the room's bounding box, you can do what's called an ether jump, because the game considers you standing for the brief period of time that you're leaving the box.
Yeah, some games call it a coyote frames. It's basically the amount of time you have to jump after leaving a ledge. That applies to going in and out of Aether.
The slope is being unkind. There we go.
One thing that's nice about a lot of the more precise timings of this game's tricks is that all of them you can build muscle memory around pretty much all of them. So that's to say that you could perform them with your eyes closed. There's nothing you're reacting to. I know some other games might have some like animations or something that you react to. But yeah, thankfully this game,
Too far away.
If you dedicate a lot of time repeating the inputs and really learning them and adjusting to them, you'll be able to perform them consistently, even at 60 frames.
Nice, I got both. Oh, that bomb was too far away. That's unfortunate.
It's some real spotty kind of collision detection for the bombs on these pillars. They can really not cooperate sometimes. And you kind of have to go quick to avoid the box spawning above you too, which is slow. So coming up is a little boss sequence.
Wave
First,
beam.
he's gonna have to wave beam. He's gonna have to defeat 4 of these baby Shigoths. Try to manipulate them to present their vulnerable parts. And then after defeating all 4, it'll spawn the adult who's upset about what you did to her babies. Very, very clean fight.
Yeah,
For
that
good
was
reason.
The best I've done that.
Yep. So we'll just put it out of our misery and not think about the ethics of this as quickly as possible so that we can move on with the run and complete our arbitrary objective of collecting items.
Can you not do that?
So he's trying to get her to do that breathing attack, which puts her in a vulnerable animation, and then dumping a bunch of missiles into her weak spot. So very similar to Parasite Queen, where the head takes a lot more damage. So just about good positioning and good
She is
aim.
not cooperating very well. Ooh.
No. There we go. It looks
Very
like
far
you were
away from the
just
beam.
barely not enough health on that last barrage.
That's all right. Skip the
Okay.
cutscene.
So with Wave and Ice, he can pretty much go to any area in the game now. It's really just Plasma Beam that's needed to collect a couple isolated checks around the world. So we're going to kind of route in a way that takes us towards Plasma Beam from here, and pick up Boost Ball along the way because boost fast.
So I noticed that when you scan a lot of the documents, the very quick, the load time is almost non-existent. How hard was it to learn just to scan just for like right there, for example, just like a fraction of a second to get what you need?
It's more. I would say it's more muscle memory than it is like quote unquote skill. Just knowing where the points are in the rooms that you need to grab. Like this one, I know that there's a little guy over here to the right. I'm gonna grab a lock on and I'm gonna dash off of him. Favorite door in the game. Every door is set to be vulnerable to some type of thing. That is the only door in the game that is vulnerable to missiles. And it is only vulnerable on first pass after you have destroyed the missile shield on it.
Yeah, there's little stuff like that all over this game They really showed that a lot of things were, handmade in a sense rather than copy and pasting assets.
So nice frame perfect bomb.
Yeah, nice. You only get one frame to lay a bomb in a cutscene.
Does nothing for you. It just looks silly.
Yeah. But yeah, I like to explain it as, the players, the speedrunners, a chimp swinging arm over arm to monkey bars, except the monkey bars are diary pages of space pirates and ancient Chozo. So if you can wrap your head around that, that's kind of the feel of playing this game. That he's trying to dash off something and land where he's the next thing to lock onto.
Ooh, that hurt a lot.
And so skipping a long, slow puzzle with many cutscenes by standing on things. This game the game's geometry is sculpted in such a way where there's basically, if it looks like you can stand on it, you can. And they seemed really against placing invisible walls to stop you from doing that. So they tried to use good game design to keep you from doing that. But in a lot of cases, they failed, and you could just jump on stuff.
And the fun addendum to that is, if it looks like you can stand on it, you probably can. And even if it doesn't, you probably still can. We're going to do something like that later on in an area called Phase on Mines. Or actually stand on an enemy to skip a fight entirely. These guys are hiding behind the walls. I might
so you
grab some health off of these if they drop any.
You would think in a 100% run, where we pick up ultimately 14 E-tanks, which is way more than any one person needs,
There we go.
that there really wouldn't be energy problems in a category like this. But what's happening is a lot of the E-tanks that say any percent would pick up, Reggie's saving for later, for when he can get them, half a second faster. And so the result is he's now at a part of the game where the developers expect you to have a lot more health than he actually does here. And he's just going to get through with confidence, knowing how the game works and how to recover from things. So
That
just
turret's
kind of
moving kind of me. There we go.
if killing enemies is slow, so we try to strike a real fine balance between going fast and taking damage. Kind of a lot of times going fast is at the expense of your health. But for example, here,
There we go.
so here he's going to leave those bottom two guys alive, and instead focus on killing these two pirates up here, which are the only two the game checks for to see that you've completed this fight and unlock the door. So he's going to make sure both of them are defeated, and then start this cutscene, which is going to put him in the wrong spot because it assumed he did a puzzle that he didn't just because he dashed. And dashing, really breaks this game.
So I fell there because the game in the puzzle that you do, you lower a piece of collision to get the super missile right there. And we're going to go back this way because there's an item in the room that I just went through called Research Lab Hydra. And there's a missile expansion here, but it's locked by the super missile. Please be nice to me, turret.
You're basically just brute
Nice
forcing your way through a lot of enemies, but it works out.
I don't know why I changed Ice Beam yet. Rechange. There we go.
And we'll see this room,
Just finished loading.
pretty much the same movement, just on repeat, play it back. Use that guy, dash off that guy.
That was not a
Jump
very good
up.
dash.
This time we grab another
Great.
page of the diary and jump.
So yeah, that's a puzzle that just involves using boost ball and morph ball bomb slots, and you're activating a space map. So there's some really cool lore, like SR388 is mentioned, a couple other planets in the system, but none of them really matter. It's just fun stuff.
So there, when he jumped kind of in a weird way at the beginning of this room, he was slipping past one of those invisible triggers, which starts a long fight with multiple waves of enemies that locks the doors. And he skipped that by knowing where it is and squeezing through a little crack between the door and the trigger. And then immediately after, he skipped needing plasma beam to melt some ice by just jumping and free aiming a missile where he knows it needs to go to knock this tower down.
think this is going to spit me back down. Ooh, barely. There we go.
That's one way to do that.
Yeah.
If he's lucky, he'll get an instant here. Nice.
Yeah.
That's a cool one.
Swag strats. Oh, I got primed. Sometimes the game will do what we affectionately or unaffectionately refer to as getting primed, where you're being punished for attempting to move too quickly. And so instead, you just don't move at all.
Yeah, the way it works is if your feet or the morph ball ever touches something at any part of the model that's supposed to be like the underside or the backside of a texture, the way that resolves is you just get stuck in place. And you can build up speed, but you get stuck. And I mean, it's like microns wide if you look at this game as one unit being meters.
There we go. Cool. That's very good.
And it can happen pretty much anywhere.
Right, I'm just gonna grab this here. So this, the enemies here deal kind of a lot of damage. Unfortunately, I got bopped. The lasers that these guys shoot do move you. And if you're in the air, it can kind of mess up where you're trying to go. So technically, I want to get the missile before I get the energy tank there. But falling down like that, with the amount of damage that these guys do, I opted to get the E-tank first to be safe.
It's not RNG, but from a human player's perspective, it might as well be random. Sometimes you get shot and you have to react to it.
So we're gonna get another major item here called a thermal visor, which allows us to see in purple and orange. Can I do it? Nope, I was too far. In a weird spot. There we go. Usually the game wants you to slowly travel through the room down and work your way towards these 3 different scan points. But you can just kind of grab them as you fall down to the bottom of the room, which is way faster, and then be in position to grab the item immediately. The vanilla sequence wants you to get this item and then backtrack out towards a fun boss called Thartus. But I have Ice Beam from doing the out of bounds I did earlier, so I can just go out the back and listen to this banger of a track for a very short period of time as I go to an elevator.
This track is the dividends of Ice Beam before Flagra. That's all we did it for. No, not at all. It completely opens up the route to being way fast.
Also, shout out to the composer for this Metroid Prime game.
It holds up so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about a bargain bin deal? This game gets you so much value for about $20 on the used market. Even just the base game alone, not to mention your challenge runs, your speedrun categories. If you dump your ISO to your PC, I mean, there's mods you can use. They'll randomize your community. It's for something that was like $80 in 2002 after you just for inflation, now just $20. There you go. There's your bargain.
Alrighty. So this room is called Geothermal Core. The Magmore Caverns track is such a bop that we're literally going to raise the roof here in a second. A gentleman that goes by a Big Effin' Eagle discovered a slope jump skip that you can do in this room that basically lets you skip an entire spider ball puzzle. So this like yellow line thing that I just shot there with the ice beam, that was a very weird angle to look at that, is a spider ball trap. Ooh, come on, cooperate with me here. We can be friends. And it's an item that basically, while you are in Morph Ball, you just hold R and you stick to it. This room, as you'll see during this, is covered in the stuff. And they want you to do a full lap around the entire room, starting at this piston that's extending out. Let's see if I can shoot it. There is a platform that sticks out when you cross through an invisible box right there. You can see I'm hitting it right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to soar on the wings of eagles, and I'm just going to skip that entire puzzle.
Wow.
A lot of new players really struggle with that. It looks like it's the same as a lot of other slip jumps, but there's just a couple extra things on top that makes that one extra difficult. And the consequence is you fall all the way down, and then you land in lava, and then when you fall from a height, you have hit stun. Yep. So then you're waiting for a fall stun animation while you're just bathing in lava. So it takes a little courage to put that in your run.
So there are these things. Yeah, you go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so the thermal visor, he picked it up. He doesn't need it. He just wants it for the percentage, really. It'll come in handy for him as the runner at the very end of the game. But he's just shooting thermal conduits, which normally illuminate with thermal visor. Since he's played this game a million times, he knows exactly where they are. So he's just activating this pirate machinery in order to get a little missile. It's probably one of the slowest missiles. Oh, E-Tank, my bad. It's probably one of the slowest optional items to pick up in this row.
So I got a frame perfect micro optimization there. Yo, double instance.
It keeps happening.
Where you can, after, like in between a scan point and a cutscene, you just like I did the morph ball bomb while I got boost, you can input anything that you want. And I managed to pull off a morph ball. There we go.
Yeah,
it took some damage. Now it doesn't matter. E-Tank.
Yeah.
Refill.
The times he has to morph and unmorph in this game are pretty much set. He gets to a certain point, he either needs to morph or unmorph. And unmorphing and morphing takes about a second to perform, right, for that animation to play out. So if he ever gets that kind of animation skip that lets him turn into a ball or back into human form instantly, he probably just gets a little dopamine hit of like, nice, a second. Nice, another second saved. So yeah, the world record run wouldn't be world record if it didn't get a bunch of those, perfect morphs and unmorphs.
Because every morph ball tunnel you go through in the game, you can save a second on. So what?
Pretty much, yeah. It's not always possible.
A total of 30 seconds, 40 seconds if you get one every single time in the hundo route?
Maybe even more than that in hundo. You morph and unmorph a lot. Because you can do it on door frames too sometimes.
It's still a lot, like over time.
Yeah.
Right, so this room wants us to have grapple beam, but I don't. But I still want this item, so I'm just going to do this instead. The dash is arguably the most busted piece of physics in the 1.0 release of Metroid Prime. Right, you are a pain in the butt, so I'm gonna just take you out.
I do enjoy that.
Go ahead, Bester.
I do enjoy that when you did that, it still played out a cutscene.
Get the slip jump?
Yeah,
first try.
It just says, you shot me somehow. I'll fall. So.
There are certain, quote, we call them actors, or I guess Retro calls them actors. Nice instant. That are only vulnerable during certain, conditions. The stalactite that I shot down with that cutscene, nice, no reposition, is only vulnerable if you are on the... Ooh, God, that was a little sketch.
That was close, yeah. I'll probably waste like a minute if he falls. Because if he falls, luck is going to have it that he falls all the way down.
I'm not using splits. I catch myself trying to reach my splits every time.
Oh, I do that too. Anytime I'm on a marathon.
Expansion. Yeah. And you're not supposed to be able to get any of those before you have the main power bombs. But because of the ability to manipulate jump physics, slope jumps, and all of that stuff, we can get a power bomb well before we have the main item. And that saves us a significant amount of time. Unfortunately, the game is not very forthcoming with drops, which is probably why they give you 4 off of the main item in Prime, whereas Echoes, they only give you 2. Prime's drop rate system is very bad, and it does not care what you are at in ammo, health, or anything really. Whereas Echoes, they introduced a little bit of a mercy function. That was a very low jump. Where if you're like out of power bombs, it'll always try to drop you one. If you're out of missiles, it'll try to... Ooh, that was a bad one. It'll try to drop you one. And if you are in the energy low range, it'll try to drop you a bigger health drop. And I am not getting very good height off of this slope. This is a weird one. You're trying to do a diagonal slope jump where you... Oh, I almost had it. I'm sliding up this wall right here because it's got a little bit of a diagonal on it. And then I'm trying to R-jump. There we go.
Nice.
Onto a precise standable. This skips needing both plasma beam and grapple beam. Ooh, I am in the middle, and that is very bad.
A little party.
Yeah. The water spanks. All right.
Yeah.
We have
So
gravity suit. This is a big one. There are a lot of rooms in the early part of the game where there's an item underwater, and yeah, I could have gotten it. I was first there, mainly Chozo Ruins. I could have gotten the item, but because you were very slow while in water, it is suboptimal to get them on first pass.
if you take almost any one item out of this game, you can still 100% the game. It's just about going quick for Hundo. So go ahead.
What max percent NSJ is only unable to get one item? Is that correct?
It's unable to get space jump boots, so it can get everything.
Oh yeah, duh.
Misses. It finishes with 98% because the last item in this game is worth 2%. It's very confusing.
So you'll notice that the morph ball is still a weird yellow color, as if I don't have any suits. You're not supposed to have gravity suit without having spider ball per the vanilla route. So the game doesn't know how to render the morph ball properly, and the default morph ball is the power suit morph ball.
So I was going to say...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Go ahead.
Okay. Since you mentioned the Morphle, I was going to say earlier in chat, I'm not sure if anyone caught it, they were trying to explain how Samus would actually go into a Morphle. And someone in there said, I think it from the Prime series, that basically Samus gets kind of turned into like almost like a plasma type way. In order to...
And you can see there's a bunch of swirly stuff inside the ball.
Yeah. Someone continued said, so it's a Pokeball, which begs the question, if that's the case, what type of Pokemon would Samus Aran be?
Fighting electric. IMO. Or fighting steel, maybe, because of the suit.
Wouldn't there be a flying type? Because she's part bird.
The important questions that get asked. So unfortunately, I did not get a power bomb off of a very specific enemy that you only have one pass to get in the 100% route. So I have to do Thardus the slow way. This boss is one of my favorites in the game. Oh, I am not doing very well on my manips here. He's basically the whole plot of the game in the Prime series revolves around this weird blue stuff called Phazon, and it's super radioactive, and it causes mutations in a lot of things that it touches.
Apparently, if you science hard enough, you can mutate rocks. Yeah.
But, like, the rocks got mad because of the radiation and turned into this guy. This fight is normally a lot scarier. However, the plasma beam does an insane amount of damage compared to all of the rest of the beams. And having it for this fight allows us to do some really fast things.
Yeah, I mean, not even this boss fight, just in this entire game, plasma beam's pretty broken in terms of how much damage output it does versus everything else. So if it's vulnerable to plasma beam, and it's not going to be too slow for him to switch to plasma and back, he's going to use plasma beam to fight enemies.
Is this possibly a continuation from the Lord of the Rings game we had earlier?
Rock
Since
roll?
it's a bunch of rocks.
Maybe you found the missing link
There, yeah.
of how we can do science to rocks.
Yeah, there we go. Got him while he was rolling. Although that's unfortunate because the grab point for the lock on there was out of bounds, so I couldn't grab it.
He
Did I hit him with the
shielded himself by cheating and going out of bounds a little bit. It's only fair when we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. So I did a quick thing because I wasn't able to expose the ice rock because the grab point was out of bounds. The rocks in this, you can skip the thermal visor requirement by hitting them with a morphball bomb. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna pause the map real fast. Sometimes things happen in such a way. I missed. That's all right. That the game, because it's running off of an optical drive, just can't keep up with what's trying to happen. So if you see the beam, oh, come on. Oh my gosh, his rock got in the way. That's right, that should kill. Come on.
One more
go.
shot. There you go.
There we
Jeez
go.
Louise. 1 HP in a dream.
So I think what Reggie was trying to say is that as a community, we optimize by in-game time, mostly because in-game time is implemented very well in this game and also has a lot of historical precedent before video recording. So there's a couple things like pausing to let some disk loading catch up. You might have seen him do that in Chozo Ruins. That just kind of optimizes for in-game time and makes kind of the experience smoother.
Nice. And another frame perfect bomb. So now we have the spider ball. We can stick to these purple or these magnetic tracks now. There's really only one item in the game that it's not even hard required because you can do a really, really dumb trick where you stand on a bug and it pushes you up a room to skip the hard requirement. But it's just not viable. Oh, I need to not boost here. There we go. So we get that. We're going to grab this E-Tank. Not that we were really hurting for anything.
Yeah, so he could have gotten that on his way to labs when he only had 2. But of course, if he grabbed it, spits you out at the bottom, it's lower. So it's just an example of optimizing the route just to be fast at the expense of safety. We live on the edge.
We have another power bomb expansion. This puts us at 2.
You can see some layers are changed.
Yeah, so picking up boost ball, that was weird seeing the inside of that sheet off.
I know.
Picking
that-
up boost ball changes this room to play a cutscene. Usually you see it way earlier, but we're only just now coming back.
Did you morph ball Argus boost out before the cutscene played and the cutscene threw you back
Yeah.
to where over there?
In the interest of starting the cutscene sooner. Also, it looks silly to watch Samus fall like that.
Yeah, some cutscenes reposition you, some don't. He's memorized which ones do. And so in those cases where you get repositioned, just without any disregard for where your trajectory is or momentum, you just want to get there as fast as possible. And a couple cutscenes have like a second delay to them before they start, like that one. So he just kind of flies off before it actually starts playing.
So you see, sometimes I have like really jagged and jerky movement while I'm on these spider ball tracks. You can travel up them slightly quicker by spamming the R trigger. Every time that you push the R button, you like start, or when you start the spider, it tries to reposition you as close as it can to the track, and you have a little bit of upward momentum while you're going up. So it kind of like lifts you and floats you a bit.
Yeah, the way it works internally is there's nodes along a spider track. So if you let go of the spider track and grab again, it'll grab the nearest node, which isn't always the one that it's actually attached to if you just roll slowly. So on pumping on some tracks allows you to kind of leapfrog those nodes a little quicker.
Nice pillar
saves,
bump.
a couple seconds over the course of the whole run.
You'll see. Go ahead.
Say, I don't know why, but in this phase, when Samus is in the morph ball, it looks like a bouncy ball.
Oops.
Like a gum ball.
Yeah,
or
like
something.
a gumdropper,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, or gobstopper. Yeah.
Boost ball is really good. If you are, while you're moving and you are not holding a direction, you can get some really incredible speed buildup. So try, especially in long rooms, to be boosting as much as possible.
Yeah, more on broken speed caps. That seems to be quite a pattern in a lot of speed games, is finding creative ways around the speed cap. The boost ball has a speed cap. It's supposed to kind of cap your speed at a reasonable rate. The speed cap only gets used if you're holding forward. So by just boosting, pressing forward to start the trajectory, and then just steering it with left and right, he's just accelerating way past that speed cap, sometimes 2 or 3 times past how much the game actually wants him to go. Just gets real unhinged real fast.
All right, so we just entered Magmore here. I'm going to do a trick coming up that there are like 4 or 5 different ways to move through this room. I came up with the way that I do this room, jokingly called Reggie Dash, but it's just a very, very dumbed down version of the Task Dash, where I'm going to do a bunny hop after dashing off of something and get to this room as fast as possible.
Yeah,
I'm very
nicely
grateful
done.
that I did not mess up my own trick.
the timing on that, right? So he froze the turret, and he grabbed a lock on the puffer. So he dashed, which is pretty easy to do to input a dash. But when he lands on the floor, he has a couple frames where he can hold R to lock his speed, and then he can jump to continue the momentum. So it was a single dash, and then he carries the momentum. And so he starts with that momentum, and then he can jump twice to kind of just fly all the way across the room. So if he's a frame too early on pressing jump for that bunny hop, he'll just hit the ground and not go anywhere. And if he's too late, every frame he's touching the ground, he bleeds speed. So if he pressed B too late, he would have bled enough speed that he would have just dropped down the whole room and landed in lava. And
Good
landing in
move.
lava is slow in every room.
Ooh, bad movement. That's silly. That's what I get for
Yeah, so
talking
that-
nicely about something.
I get to explain limited influence now, though. So
Yeah.
he landed above the missile, and in a lot of games, you would just go, oh, I overshot. I need to walk backwards and then press forward again to kind of come down onto it. In Prime, when you step off of a ledge, you're signing your soul away. So you cannot... pretty much your ability to move the character is almost completely nullified. And whatever trajectory you were going on when you stepped off of that ledge, that's kind of where you're going to go. So yeah, normally when you hold L in this game, you get 360 degrees aerial movement at a constant speed. But if you have pressed R or you step off the ledge, whatever trajectory you're on, that's you're going that way. So,
All right, so I'm going to pause here. I understand that this is actually almost right at the hour mark here. I understand that you guys need to do a quick intermission, and this is a perfect time to do it.
Yeah, so if you want to go to 3, 2, 1, pause, just for the sake that we get the timer right.
3, 2, 1, pause.
Thank you. We're going to take a small little break. We'd like to take these little health breaks every now and then to make sure our community gets nice hydrated, as you can see there. Get up, stretch, use the restroom, everything else along those lines. We try to do this every hour to make sure that happens. And don't forget that your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support our weekly Hotfix content. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy these Hotfix shows, and we do them every weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Eastern on the weekends. We'll be right back to continue more with Metroid Prime. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Bargain Bin. We're going to continue on with the rest of Metroid Prime here in a moment, but do not forget, after this run, it is going to be She Is Speed, show about speedruns by women playing games with women characters. There's a stacked lineup with that, with Crypt of the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule, and Tomb Raider 2. So do not forget that, but while we're here, let's go ahead and continue more about this Metroid Prime run. Reggie, whenever you're ready.
Alrighty, we're gonna do in three, 2, 1, go. All right, so we are just a little bit over the halfway point here. Oh, nice! I boosted through a Justin. Whoop. Shout outs to Justin DM, the gentleman for whom these little spikies are nicknamed. Justin is an extremely talented runner. Currently holds the world record for 100% as a category, which I believe the in-game time for that is 1 minute or 1 hour 6 seconds or 6 minutes.
Somewhere around there, if not incredibly impressive. Either way,
Yeah, it's
another level.
absolutely mind-blowing. The stuff that the top level runners can do. Ooh, wow, I bonked off of a platform there during that dash, and I am very lucky I did not fall to the bottom of this room. Or bottom of this room.
It could be a bottle.
It is shaped like a bottle. If you filled it with water, it would be a vessel that contains water.
It is raining. So at this point in the route, we have all the beams, we have spider, we have supers. So at this point, no item goes left uncollected. If we're near it, we're picking it up. So this will be kind of the last time we visit Chozo Ruins, and we're just gonna sweep up starting in the early game section.
So I did see this question pop up in chat, and I was curious because I know you can play this on the GameCube, you can play this on the Wii, you can play this on other situations. For the purposes of like 100 or any percent, what is the better platform to play this on?
So I'm of the opinion that playing on hardware is always better whenever possible. In speedruns for Prime 1 on the original release, it is considered safer to use a Wii in GameCube mode versus the actual GameCube. The limited memory on the GameCube console allows a couple rooms in Chozo Ruins and one room in Magmore Caverns to just crash when they load because the rooms are so big that overflowing the memory for the console just causes the game to go brrr, really, really loud.
And there's no way to work
playing
around
on
it.
Wii mitigates it completely. I am playing on a Wii. You are able as a low barrier entry to play on emulator like Dolphin, but past a certain time of progression, your run gets so good to keep the playing field level. There, you are required to play on console, which is an hour 10 minutes in game time for any percent and an hour 30 minutes in game time for 100. So when you hit that video requirement, you are also required to play on hardware.
At that point, at the skill level, most players who choose to would, if that wasn't a requirement, they would still want to play on console. Emulation works a bit differently for all platforms and even then all games. So this game does have a little interframe stuttering and very minor timing differences that might affect some of these higher precision tricks that go on in this game. So
also, even when you're playing on a medium grade PC, Dolphin has these little micro stutters that can eat your inputs, and if there's even a fragment of a second where you go to put in an input, if the game stutters, it'll just completely eat it and you won't do a thing. And that is one of the worst things that can happen, is being at a choke point and having the game just be like, oh, you didn't need to do that input.
So if we ever get carried away in conversation and forget to explain something, just come to the default assumption that we skipped a puzzle with dashing. That's pretty much true for a lot of things we're doing.
So I have been not blessed with drops so far, so I took the time to kill those little scarabs in that room to guarantee that I have a power bomb, because I don't want to forget that I don't have one later, because it is mandatory to have a power bomb to get a power bomb in a room called Magma Pool, which is after a really goofy out of bounds sequence that I do not want to have to backtrack several rooms to get a power bomb and drop.
So coming up here, we're going through the intended kind of missile launcher. It's gated behind a boss. So there's this big mechanical construct that will encapsulate the missile launcher and require him to fight multiple waves of enemies on a platform suspended above acid water. And so Reggie is going to take on this challenge and fight this boss. Are you ready?
Oh, yep. Oh, I did it.
Yep. And the boss is
And-
defeated. Well done.
Missile
Wow,
launcher.
nice.
Hi, Mom. I see you. Don't worry. So there's a trigger on this bridge. It's basically the entirety of the rectangle of the bridge that if you walk through it, starts the fight.
So you don't even need space jump boots to do that. You can just grab a scan point on part of the scenery and just dash around that trigger.
Who taught my mother how to tag people in Twitch chat? You're fired.
I don't even know what's happening. All right. so
Someone
here-
just timed out my mother. Oop, that's amazing. Doing the digital Prime God's work. All right. So
All right.
this is, whoa, what was that? That was weird.
you felt.
Yeah, I guess I was holding forward during the start of the cutscene. All right, so this is the backtrack towards that that artifact called the Artifact of Wild. This is the vanilla intended way to climb this room is by shooting super missiles at those two things on the wall. There we go. Bonking on everything on the way through here. Lovely. And then bomb jumping up that room. You can see that there was a little ghost that dashed towards this room. A little bit of foreshadowing. So I'm going to do, hopefully, a manipulation where the optimal way to do this fight is to have X-ray visor. But I don't. Oh, I missed a ghost. All right. I missed you.
So each of these
No, I
ghosts takes a specific amount of health. It works out that health is a mostly charged power beam shot and then a super missile shot. So what he was going for at the beginning is to tag all three of them with a charge shot, so that he doesn't need to keep track of who's who and just needs to shoot a super missile at all of them. The super missile tracks, but with this game being as kind of odd as it is, sometimes the tracking misses or it'll run orbits around them, or in one case you saw it arch over them and into the floor. So, but he got the job done, and you can call Ghostbusters and tell them not to come.
And scan dash off that little drop. Save a little bit of time just by not moving slowly through that room.
Yeah, so that was a ghost he killed. They die they die wherever they go. They go in pretty random spots. So he's looking for one of the last ghosts he killed to grab their drop and use it to get out of the room quicker. So we're approaching the second of the 3 out of bounds sequences. So this one's called Training Chamber Wall Crawl. A lot of this game is built into loops, especially for routing. You want to kind of go through these loops cleanly and kind of route through the world without having to backtrack much. So there's a loop in Magmore that goes through there's a loop in Chozo that goes through Magma Pool, and the intended way to do it is a bit slow. So he's going to go through that loop backwards, and it's going to set him up to route to finish the rest of the back half of Chozo. And he's going to do that by going out of bounds, as that's the only way to traverse that section backwards.
There's only one part of it that's like really kind of choke pointy, and it's in this room called Piston Tunnel, which in randomizer we never see unless we're doing. Ooh, that was silly. I slid off. Unless we're doing Training Chamber Wall Crawl to skip having item requirements.
With a beautiful dash, he's touching a loading trigger. So the loading trigger is telling the game to load Piston Tunnel. If he didn't touch that trigger, there would be just air where he's trying to go. Going to abuse some very finicky standables in order to just climb out of the room. And then maneuver himself without getting his shoes stuck. There's kind of a phenomenon where it feels like your shoelaces are tied. To traverse this room that normally needs Morph Ball.
Oop, I missed the piston. That's okay.
We get to explain Aether jumping.
Yep.
So, since every room's in a box, when you fall to the bottom of that box, you want to be able to get back up. So he's kind of on this minimum height level that you can ever be in this room. So he's at that kind of threshold of it, and he actually fell pretty hard, so he's rising up. So he's kind of waiting. It's pretty hard to see on stream, but he's waiting for this bouncing animation, and he's trying to time a 3-frame jump to get a jump off of the floor, and then he's strafing into the wall, right? So one of the left side of this box, where he can then do Aether jumps. So timing these three-frame jumps that if he messes up, he falls back down, in order to get enough height to kind of recover this.
All right, there we go.
So now
I have it.
he's back.
Jump backwards a little bit, hit that trigger. You can see the skybox disappeared, which is how I know that I hit the trigger. Room just loaded. Maybe it'll show itself. There we go. So that was a fairly decent recovery. I missed a couple different windows for Aether jumping, but honestly, it's not the end of the world.
So what he did there, he touched another trigger to load this room.
I'm going to
Transition the room.
And now I'm going to do what's called a ceiling warp. When the game thinks that you are in a room other than the room that you're currently physically in, come on, there we go. You can do a bomb jump and hit the ceiling with enough force that it effectively pushes a very, very small piece of you through the ceiling. And then when you unmorph, your box expands and the game thinks that you're inside the room, so it just drops you through.
Yeah, and so since the map thinks he's in the room he is in right now, the game got really lazy. Yeah. The game got really lazy with detecting collisions and trying to stop you from going through objects. So by tricking the game, putting him in the wrong room, he's able to trick the game that he phased through a wall. And here's a very, very precise dash. It's kind of at the limit of what's possible with the dash for humans.
Nice. Wow.
So that was a lot of room to spare. That's another one of those things where beginners will kind of opt to do an alternative strat. But once you get the muscle memory down, it's pretty consistent.
Let's do the strat that I prefer from Rando. So I tried to abuse a standable collision, blah, 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 do a dash and land on this. But I let go of the spider early. Oopsie. Stinky. I'm still abusing standable over here. You're not supposed to be able to stand on any of that. The pieces of collision that you're standing on are very, very small. There you go. Right,
yeah, you don't need your whole foot. You just need dynamo. Like a toe to be able to stand on something. Yeah, this dynamo is kind of the room Reggie was referring to of you really, really need Spider Ball to be able to get this in a meaningful way.
Yeah. Again, technically possible to do a really, really bad enemy damage boost ride sail, but it's just abysmal. The Shriek Bats right there, one of them will always drop a power bomb if you need one. So I want to pick that up, especially considering the game is so ungenerous. New word.
Yeah.
With
normally,
power bomb drops.
Yeah, normally most enemies just can't drop power bombs, and the ones that do are usually 1 to 3% chance. So that's you're really crossing your fingers when you're hoping for one of those drops. So he's very intentional about picking up the more guaranteed ones and the high percentage drops where he can. At least until he gets main power bombs.
Hold the spider up there, and laying bombs pushes that plasmite, the bug enemy, up so it doesn't hit me and knock me off. That is the enemy that you ride up to do the manip. Tass can do it very well because Tass is Tass. But there is one human, and exactly one human, that... Ooh, I need to get this item. That can do it with any meaningful sense of consistency, and it's even still like a 7% success rate. Shoutouts to Meerkat, you crazy human being. All right. So I've gotten almost all the items in Chozo Ruins. There are 3 left that I need to grab. So we're going to do this little out of bounds again. Ooh, I did not get upwards momentum. There we go.
This
And
time,
I'm
not
doing-
skipping game requirements. We're just doing it because it's faster.
There we go.
Which
Nice
is
out
a
of
big
bounds.
flex. But there's a puzzle with bomb slots and watching a lot of cutscenes of these magic donut rings or something. But we just go around it. But what's neat is, you practice this for the ice beam skip, and all that muscle memory still applies here. But he's going to end it early, right after that puzzle that consumes a lot of time. So hence it's called puzzle skip.
Yep. So that door over there again is locked. The morph ball puzzle in this room. Oh, I'm stuck on standable. That's funny. Okay. So this room. Oh, come on, game. Don't do this to me. Let's see. There we go. So this room is now active.
Yep.
I can't.
You know the recovery.
Yeah.
The touch the
So-
loading trigger. Yeah.
No, I actually don't want to touch the loading trigger. You can successfully load. I'm
Oh,
still in
it won't
ether.
crash.
It will not crash, or at least it
Okay, cool.
shouldn't crash. I really hope it doesn't, because that would be unfortunate. But I have... Ooh, I'm not in the correct room.
So what we're talking about here is the sum of the memory consumed by these 3 rooms. If it does not exceed the memory limit on his Wii, then he's fine. If it exceeds the memory limit on his Wii, it'll crash. And it
I
takes
have done
experience
this
to
before.
know
It
what...
didn't crash, so hopefully
what
it's kind and
combination?
doesn't do it again. So I'm technically in this room here. Come on. Yeah,
Nice.
there we go. And now transitioning the room just saved me there.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
decent
you-
recovery.
you get
It's
that through
unfortunate that
experience,
happened. I hit a piece of standable that had sticky collision and kind of locked me from moving. The intended strat is to hit the loading trigger for that little tunnel room, and then position yourself inside its bounding box, inside the tunnel, while the room loads around you. Why am I not getting the good standable here? There we go. I'm skipping a big room puzzle where there's a power bomb rubble that you break, and then you do some half pipe Tony Hawk Pro Skater stuff. And instead, you can just climb up and stand on stuff, like most puzzles in this game. It's either dashing or cheating. I'm cheating.
So now I want to see Samus in a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game or a skateboard game in general.
So do we. We talk about it every week, pretty much.
All right, so here I'm gonna do. It doesn't really save a whole lot of in-game time, but it saves a lot of RTA. So I'm gonna overlap a cutscene. Hitting this bomb slot activates a cutscene, but then killing the ghost also activates one. So I'm activating them both at the same time and getting a free reposition ice beam. Oh, why did I do this? I need to use the bomb slot first.
Yeah. So
The whole purpose of what I did was to skip doing this, which is the vanilla way to climb the room. That's hilarious. There are some really fun names internally for rooms in this game. This one is called Chozo Bowling, and you got to see why.
Yeah, so by optimizing in-game time, the way the counter works is anytime we're basically not in control of Samus, so watching a scene like this, it's just paused. So we really only have to think about the time where our inputs matter, and that makes that takes out a lot of discrepancies of the weird oddities of of play that can affect real time, but not in-game time.
No, and the in-game timer is incredibly accurate. It is accurate down to the second, but in the end-game screen, we're only going to see hours and minutes because it's really all that the average player cares about. There are some tools where you can rip a like your GameCube save from your memory card and read it with a tool on a computer to see what your actual time is.
It's helpful to know how much work you have to put in to be able to get past the next barrier.
So in terms of that, does in-game timing also like stop during cutscenes, during low times, things along those lines?
Anytime you are not actively controlling Samus.
So in an elevator, it's
timer.
paused.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in front of a door waiting for it, that's something else. The load times are very consistent on hardware.
There we go. All right, so now I am on my way to casually one of probably the most frustrating areas of the game. Come on. Besides the final zone, I am getting butter-toaded very, very hard right there. So we're going to go to the crashed version of the tutorial section of the game. So internally, it's referred to as Frigate Orphean when it is the tutorial, and then when it's a part of the Talon 4 World Zone, it is considered Crashed Frigate. And if you are feeling old, remember that this year, actually in a couple of months, this game turns 20 years old. Don't morph here.
And it still looks great for, it being 20. Yeah,
absolutely it does.
Yeah, it's the texture work they did. For a 480p console, it scales up. If you play it like say on Dolphin emulated, it scales up really nicely. Like in 720p, 1080p, it looks almost as intended, but a lot more crisper detail. It's a lot of love was put into this game, and that's one of the benefits of speedrunning is you see a lot of that care put into it only after so many hours of speedrunning it or just playing it in various ways.
I'm going to freeze those guys just so that they don't knock me around. You'll recognize that like this room looks very familiar. Somehow the ship crashing put a door here. All right, so here I am going to use the thermal visor. For these thermal conduits, you can see the little glow of them. Grab the pirate. Just because it's free to hit them. Come on.
And you can see he's
slight optimization here. If you get close enough to this door as you activate the final conduit, it opens during the cutscene. Normally, you just get to watch the door turn on as an indication that that's what you need to do. So we have to do that a couple more times throughout these rooms.
Yeah, that's one of the rare cases where something's happening gameplay time-wise that saves time, even though the timer's paused. So there are a couple weird oddities regarding that. You'll notice for these power conduits, you only need to shoot them once to activate them. He's actually sometimes sending charge shots and 2 shots, just because they can be really finicky, and they're actually health based. So sometimes, the wave beam shoots 3 particles. Sometimes if all 3 particles don't hit, it won't take enough damage. So he's being very particular in order to prevent himself from being screwed over from basically just luck of how those particles hit. It can be annoying if you think you've activated one and you continue moving on. It's a frustrating way to lose time that you haven't experienced until you've tried to run this game.
There we go. So I did activate that door, but there's an item in this room. Shout outs to Biohazard Containment, which is a poo-poo garbage pants room to have major progression in rando.
Everything about Frigate's slow, which is why you won't see any percent ever anywhere near it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
So.
Also, what a name.
Right, so I'm going to... did not hit the standable that I wanted to. There we go. So these cutscenes do not have repositions, but they do preserve where you are. And if you're in the room, you just fall. So the idea is that you are standing in front of the door as that cutscene starts to happen so that you don't fall. But I goofed. All right, let's go down here. All right, so this is a fun... Oh, come on, Boost Ball, don't do this to me. All right, it's going to be mean to me. There are certain circumstances in which Boost Ball, while underwater, decides to not carry you upwards. The vanilla strat is to do that with 3 bombs. It's stylish and slightly faster to do it with 2 bombs and 2 boosts. But I did not, alas, get the Boost Ball to be cooperative while underwater.
Ooh, a lot of casual players struggle to grab that one. It's one that kind of takes a minute to actually kind of grind out for some people trying to 100% it for the first time. That and the transport tunnel A in Magmore, where you have to double bomb jump. A casual player, you're not asked to double bomb jump to beat the game, so it can be a little bit jarring if you're trying to 100% the game and asked to do it for the first time. And it's really just the beginning to a large and complex system of bomb jumps that have been invented for this speed game. This run barely scratches the surface of it, but if you really want to have your mind blown with what's possible with bomb jumps, maybe go look at like a low % run of this that skips space jump.
It's incredible, the things that low % / 21%, which is your number of items completion at low %. Nice. So I got a little micro optimization there. This room is bad. Life Grove Tunnel is a room that has some pretty awful collision, and for literally no reason whatsoever other than just get hecked, you can lose all of your momentum and get stuck. So I did a double bomb jump into a small boost to do a little skip there. In the current fastest route for, PBBB does not come here early in Hundo, does it? I think it just goes through the rest of the route.
I don't think it's optimal to do PBBB at all for Hundo. I could be wrong about that, but the runs I've seen don't do it.
PBBB is a trick. By the way, the Prime community is excellent at naming its tricks. Is called Power Bombs Before Bombs. And it involves doing, very early in the game, that same out of bounds I did for the training chamber item, to collect that power bomb expansion that's in Magma Pool very, very early before you even have more fall bombs. It involves using a load delay where you are bringing up the map to stop a room from loading, so that it can load around you in such a way that you're touching an item with your head sticking through the floor, and get that power bomb expansion and then fall to the bottom of the room and get out. It's pretty goofy. It's only, PBBB is like 2 years old?
Yeah, I mean,
it's very
definitely
recent
not 3
as
years
far as
old,
speed
yeah.
tech goes. But it is incredibly difficult. I think only like the top 10 runners currently use it. So speaking of someone's got the idea, of the community being absolutely adept at naming things, that very first out of bounds I did to get Ice Beam, it's called Ice Beam Before Flagra. Eventually, somebody hated that trick, or that route used to take you through that big tree room with the boost spinner gate that I just went through. Would take you through that room from top to bottom, which is not how you're intended to go, and involves a precise double bomb jump called Bars Skip. It is not easy. It's very precise. It's not the hardest trick in the world, but it's not free by any means. Someone hated that bomb jump so badly that they came up with a new way to move through the route. Eventually, Ice Beam before Flagra was made defunct because there were faster ways discovered. But then someone figured out that for a very specific point in the game, you can do. Hold on, I'm gonna. There we go.
Hold on, I'm speedrunning.
Yeah.
I'm bypassing these asleep pirates that are sleeping standing up.
But then eventually it was figured out that you could do Ice Beam, the wall crawl IBBAF, to do something called Ghost Skip. Oh, that's poopy. Bad movement. And save about, if you do the wall crawl quickly and then you get this trick called Ghost Skip, you can save about a minute. So then it was IBBAF, which is Ice Beam before Flagra, after Flagra. And then with the PBBB route, it then became faster to do the IBBF wall crawl again. So now it's IBBF, AFBF. Ice Beam before Flagra, after Flagra, before Flagra. It's amazing.
What a name. What a name.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, hence the multiple butcherings of the attempt of the story.
I just run some RNG in my head, and that's how many B's I say. That's just my mental process.
This is one of my other favorite rooms in the game. I affectionately call it Boombox. The real name of the room is Elite Control Access, but I like calling it Boombox because it's literally a box that you boom, and it brings you an item. All right, so this is that fun. If it looks like it's standable, it probably is, and even if it isn't, it still is. Sometimes enemies are standable.
Just think really creatively and put your mind to it, and you can jump off of angry space pirate person.
Oop. I got my head stuck in the ceiling. There we go. All right. Oh, come on.
And that's the harder of two ways up to climb that room. Normally you're supposed to have a long fight with him where you're shooting mortars and you're trading back and forth, and then he dies, and then some pirates are like, I'm gonna avenge you, and then you fight them, and then you go up a catwalk, and you just kind of jumps a couple times. I hope I did that fight justice.
Very. So this is a spooky room in certain situations. Vent shaft. In the low percent category, the legacy route for that, this room is affectionately referred to as the ditch, where it involves doing a really dumb half-pipe bomb jump to get out of this room through the way I entered it. It's bad. It's considered one of the hardest bomb jumps in a half-pipe that you can do.
It's probably the hardest bomb jump in all of the Prime trilogy.
Let's see if this works.
We're just trying new strats.
Just
Oh,
in
yeah,
case.
that
No, it
works.
didn't.
Yeah, the room has to be loaded first, so it's every timing.
Gotcha.
But so here's more of that, shooting missiles and then using the C-stick to switch back to power beam to eliminate the cooldown of the missile to just kind of bang out a bunch of missiles rapidly. And a lot of enemies are real vulnerable to that. And Tripoli
Push the R button.
Yeah.
So that drone, you're not supposed to have X-ray visor when you come here because you require main power bombs to get X-ray visor, but it's invisible. No, went right in then. That's all right. But if you have X-ray, you can see your little friend and shoot him with a super missile and kill it real fast. Also, this is a very bad maze. So this is one of two major points in the game that is considered RNG. There are approximately 100, I think, different layouts for this maze.
There's 300 mazes.
There's 300? Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that many.
Wow.
And when your save file is created, a deterministic RNG number is picked, and that is the maze that you're going to get. It's goofy.
Yeah,
Do we know if there's a way to determine that, like before, like somewhere during the run we can calculate, oh, because of this, it's going to be calculated to this size?
Not really. It's not like the Final Fantasy series where like you can be like, oh, I got this item to drop off of this enemy, and then I got this attack value for blah blah. There's not really a way to know it. However, during the cutscene of the maze starting, there's a little tool called Maze Finder that you can put in what the barriers around 3 of the squares in the maze are, and it'll tell you what maze it is with 100% accuracy. Toaster, I'm going to let you do some talking here because I don't like this room.
Yeah, so this is Metroid Quarantine A. A lot of stuff happens here.
This is a
You're
bad
supposed
grab.
you're supposed to use X-ray to platform off some invisible platforms there. So that skips like 4 jumps. He's leaving a bunch of enemies alive because killing enemies is slow. If he gets grabbed, no big deal. Power bombs just clean up Metroids. So he's trying to climb this room, one to get to the door to progress through, as well as get this missile, which requires multiple spider tracks, more invisible platforms, a lot of waiting cycles. So he's just doing a lot of difficult but well choreographed movement. And that's a hard dash.
All right, there we go. Oh, least favorite room in the game, and I did fairly well in it, so I'm very happy with how that went.
Yeah, and in rooms where you're not as comfortable with, it can help to kind of pause for a little bit, get your bearings, and then go for a trick. But in that room, you're put on a timer by these enemies that are chasing you, and you really don't have time to clean them all up if you're trying to be as optimal as possible. So he just kind of had to go for it and keep the speed, keep the momentum, and clean through that room. And there's also pretty much
nice
every
drop.
part of that room something can go wrong.
So this, I guess the zone that, that's not going to be good. All right, I accidentally grabbed a lock on. Oh, you ruined friendo. That's okay. It actually knocked me into a really good position. Onto that mushroom is about the best place I can get knocked. I don't like where that glider is, so I'm just going to jump around the room. Falling in this room is bad. Phazon Mines as a whole is one of the easiest places to lose time in very quickly. The optimal strats are not forgiving, and if you make even one small mistake, you can either die or just fall to the bottom of a room that's very difficult to climb.
Yeah, for these 2 longer rooms, if you fall, you pretty much have to make your way back towards the lower mushrooms at the beginning. Although this one is a slope jump, actually, here.
Yeah.
But that first fungal hall A can be a bit mean
get
if
grabbed.
you fall.
I think I'm going to get grabbed. Yeah, that's fine. I don't like where one of these Metroids is, so I'm just going to back up and attempt to kill some of them.
Can you spare a
Can I
power
get a
bomb?
triple? No. There we go. I got damage
Yeah, you
boosted
got
up,
it.
though.
Yep. It doesn't help you can't
Metroid.
see in that room.
That works.
either.
No,
The
yeah,
dark
vision
room.
in that room is really bad. Having 4 power bombs, though, is really nice.
There's another one where you just ignore a bunch of bullies. Hopefully you don't get shot.
There we go. Good movement in there. Skip's doing a grapple beam puzzle, which grapple beam you will see me not use at all. There's not a single item in the game that is hard locked by grapple beam. You can skip it in every instance. All right, you can talk
Yeah,
about this one, Dad.
Yeah, even if you spawn with grapple, there's no reason to use it. It's always faster. So this is Omega Pirate. He's going to start by skipping the cutscene and staying in a spot that doesn't immediately get aggravated. All the pirates share the same base AI, where they don't try to attack you unless they've seen you and clap their hands like that. So he can kind of delay him from attacking.
Nice.
Then before he goes into that vulnerability period, there's a small window where you can lay a power bomb that interrupts an animation at a very specific point in time that skips him calling for reinforcements. So normally he'd be calling for reinforcements right now. Those aren't there, so he can just focus on the setup. He's going to deal out a very specific amount of damage on this first vulnerability phase. And then he's going to use his knowledge, the deterministic knowledge of where he spawns. So he always starts in that pool when you stand here, and then he'll go to the next nearest pool that wasn't just used, or sorry, the next furthest pool that wasn't just used. So he
There we
predicts where he's going to spawn.
Nice.
and he has a super missile locked and loaded with a maker pirate's name on it. So if you mess that up, he regenerates all of his armor, and you don't have the advantage of him being kind of bewildered and not attacking. So he'll put his hands up and block attacks and all this other stuff. And it's basically run dead at this level of gameplay. If you go into that second phase, it wastes a lot of time. My favorite cutscene in the game was really cool. Suit acquisition. And this is kind of one of the only backtracks we have to do after that aforementioned kind of go mode with the spider and the supers and the 3 beams. The only item he wasn't able to get on the first pass of a room past that point was back a couple rooms from here, where the last artifact needed to unlock the final bosses is in a tunnel that's over here. There's a couple ways to get it early, and they are very difficult and not very marathon friendly. So
Yeah, they're the opposite of marathon safe.
If you're not extremely well practiced on them and you haven't been doing them a whole lot, it can kill your run
Very quickly. I mean, it's a literal death. You can take a safety save right after getting the power bomb item, but then you have to come back and redo all of this.
Yeah, so you can do what he's doing now, but without the phase-on suit. So you're just taking damage. It's actually exponential damage. So you start taking damage and you start taking more and more and more the longer you sit in here. So like every frame you're touching this blue goo counts. And then once you're done with that and you come out, then you have to do those 3 combat heavy dangerous rooms with less than an E-tank once you've performed that trick. So the world record
moment of panic when I saw my artifact screen, because I was like, oh gosh, I'm still missing an artifact because of Rando Brain. Usually phase-on mining tunnel is the last artifact that you are able to get in a randomizer. However, this is not a randomizer. This is vanilla, and I'm just Reggie. Ooh. I missed a cycle. I'm going to get grabbed. That's unfortunate. That's okay. I can maybe... No, that's not happening. Okay, I can do a standable. I was too close to that Metroid. Come on. Play nice, guys.
It was creative, I'll give you that.
You gotta die too. I don't want you to mess with my mojo here. All right. There we go. That's
so yeah, a lot of 100% players have a good time with rando, and even more so, a lot of rando players find the barrier to entry to 100% being not so bad as, say, coming from like any percent running on and off. Just because in rando, you're clearing a lot of items and locations with kind of random loadout. So eventually you learn the movement for every single room. This 100% category goes to almost every single room in the game. I would say there's like 2 or 3 that aren't map and missile stations that you visit, that you skip. So it requires knowledge of pretty much everything the developers designed, which is a real benefit of 100% categories in a lot of games, is that you're seeing 100% of the love developers put in, at least from a gameplay wise.
Shot in mid dash and that reset my momentum.
Ooh. Ouch.
Let's try this again.
It's just mostly just luck, unless you want to do it the slow way and clear out enemies, but that's not going to get you fast times.
That was my fault. I'll own that. I pushed L too early. While you are moving very quickly through rooms, I'm just going to do this the slow way. If you are doing a dash and you hit the L button, as long as you haven't pushed R, you will slow down to a much more reasonable speed. I'm going to try to get a power bomb here. And I did. Good RNG. Thank you. All right. I now have enough power bombs to get me through the rest of the game.
Nice.
Because I need one for that tunnel. I need one for Artifact of Warrior. And then I need one. Oh.
Oh,
So I
man.
was attempting to jump over a fight trigger. We've been through this room once before. Unfortunately, on the way out, all right, I'm going to pause here. You saw that my arm cannon got stuck there.
It's pulling off the arm cannon model off the disc every time you switch beams. So if there's a lot happening on disc, it kind of goes, I don't know what beam.
Why are you asking so much of me?
I'm just a GameCube, sometimes a Wii.
I feel like my consoles ask me that question every time I started to speedrun games.
One of my favorite things about the 100% route is that a very difficult trick called spiderless shafts is not required. This room in particular is a bit of a struggle. You have to do one of those goofy BSJs in this room to land on some micro standable, to then wedge yourself in a place where you're not going to fall, and then climb the room a very goofy way. Luckily, Hundo, we have Spider Ball. So, ooh, that room already loaded? I'm surprised.
Interesting. So backface
it's
collision.
because I slipped off that standable.
So every wall in this game has a front side and a back side. If you're on the back side, it kind of stops processing collision detection. The result of that is that you just kind of get stuck. In this case, we can
Calvin.
abuse that. So you get stuck, but you still keep your momentum. So he's boosting over and over
In
and
a bad
over.
Position.
Yeah, so
Maybe
he's
just a little bit more to the right.
he's rolling into the wall to get a forward vector, and then he's amplifying that vector by boosting over and over, not holding forward to avoid that forward boost cap. And when he reaches a point where his intended next position in a single frame goes all the way past that wall, the game doesn't see any wall in this way because collision detection is calculated very lazily from a backface piece of geometry. So he just kind of clips right through, reminiscent of
Where
your
are you two at?
insert favorite
One.
Super Mario speedrun here.
There's two. All right. I just got that again, so I hit that real fast. All right, there we go. So this guy, phase on elite.
damage spun. Yep.
Yep. So he's just like Omega Pirate and the other Elite Pirates, where his AI will never trigger the active fighting mode until you are in a certain degree of his field of forward view. Luckily, we can abuse that to just walk around him and rapid spam a total of 24 missiles into his face, during which he will headbang the entire time. Also, nice missiles.
Nice. Always nice.
Love to see it. These guys might bully me. Nope.
All right, so this game's structured into loops. We're actually doing this loop backwards. So you're intended to come through this way from main quarry. He wants to leave through the main quarry elevator, so he's routed in a specific way where he's coming through this room backwards. The scripting, as well polished as it is, doesn't account for him coming backwards. So the way the scripting works in this game is there's a trigger by the door where you come in at the front. When he steps into that trigger, it locks the doors and starts a scripting sequence for a fight is occurring. You need to defeat all the enemies in this room. But if he doesn't touch that trigger that he just hit there and the door locks and he kills the enemies, it will actually keep the door locked as he tries to go to that door. So he has to fix the scripting in a way that makes sense to the game, and then complete the room as intended to avoid getting soft locked and stuck in a locked room. Best item in the game,
Yep.
flamethrower. And by best, I
Interesting.
yeah.
Oh, pff. I'm actually supposed to let that cutscene play out to optimize for in-game time of picking up the flamethrower item. But I'm optimizing a little bit for RTA just because it looks like I'm going to go about 10 minutes over.
You saw the end of the scripting kind of correct itself there, where it played the same cutscene a second time. The pirates weren't in the ceilings, but the camera still tried to point at them.
Where are you going?
He got
Where are you
repositioned.
going? Why are you doing this? Get over here. Any of you drop a power
Yeah.
bomb? No.
For a 2002 game, the AI programming here is kind of ahead of its time, and the programmers kind of took a really original approach. So you'll see enemies behaving in ways that are intelligent, but intelligent in a way that other games kind of don't. So there's kind of running, retreating, team managing. Under the hood, it looks like some groups of enemies assign a leader and coordinate. So it's again on that theme of a lot of love was put in this game, and you don't notice a lot of it until you play it 100 times. So whatever that pirate was thinking, he was scared for his life, I'm convinced.
Samus is very, very scary. All right, so I have I guess 3 items left to collect, because I guess artifact of, truth? Technically counts. But you yes, you have to absolutely pick up all the items to complete 100% and all 12 artifacts to complete the game in general. But even in order to access your hints for where the remaining artifacts are in the game, you have to pick up that item. So that'll be the last thing we touch. And hopefully we see the 100% item text.
I don't think you forgot anything.
I really don't either.
This is always
we'll see it. We'll see it.
Confident. Here we go. All right.
Yeah, so this is a case where since we're optimizing by in-game time, taking all these elevators back to back to back isn't as bad as it looks in RTA. So has to kind of travel through a lot of space that's physically close together, but a little bit far away in terms of watching a lady stand in an elevator pensively.
Nope, stay more. Oh. Just kind of hoping for a wall boost.
Yeah, I mean, we go through all the rooms in this game almost and do a lot of movement with a lot of different items, and we've still only scratched the surface of the techniques that are accessible in this game and can be used to break it. So, for example, if you're playing without bombs for whatever reason, you can abuse the boost ball to accomplish the same effect as bombs with a lot more effort. And sometimes it is faster, but...
Yeah. There's some talk about logbook scans in chat, and I can pipe in on that a little bit. There is, in fact, a category for this game that is called 200%, where the goal is to pick up 100% of items, as well as getting all of the logbook lore entries, which involves scanning every enemy in the game at least once. Oh, I missed the spike strat. As well as every research lore.
Yeah, so pickups that we've been prioritizing in this run, increment a counter that's shown at the game results screen, and then the lore scans, as mentioned, work towards progressing, unlocking concept art in the main menu. So those two things contribute to different numbers and totals.
So we are coming up on our final save of the game here. That should be the last item, other than Artifact of Truth.
We're just going to go for a pretty difficult dash here. It saves kind of walking around the left side of this room, and it can be tricky to get because it's pretty precise.
No, I slipped down the collision of the ship there as I started the dash. So it involves getting optimal speed on the dash, as well as being at the correct height, pushing the jump button at the right time, doing an L jump during your dash at the right time. There are a multitude of factors that go into making that dash go well. I do not have a high success rate of it. Just did it for just in cases. It would look cool.
It's a marathon. You got to go for it.
Yeah.
You got the roll-in strat in Furnace. That was pretty cool.
I did.
Let's talk about poultry, specifically Ridley. And smiley face. So this boss is split up into 2 phases, a flying phase and a ground phase. So this boss will start by flying around, taunting you with its wings, and come in for flying bombardments on you.
Yes. All right. Moment of
nice.
truth. We
Nice.
did what we were supposed to.
Nice.
So for this first part, there's not much you can do. Normally, this phase ends when Ridley's health bar gets kind of down to like the M in Meta Ridley, so like a third of the way down. What Reggie's going to do is he's going to kind of burn through this first kind of section of this flying phase, and then he just has to kind of wait. And what he's setting up for is an exploit in this game. So basically a typo in the programming where boost ball, which normally deals like a small amount of damage to all enemies on contact, to kind of give the effect of sliming into something, doing physical impact damage with it. If he just boosts a little bit into Ridley, instead of dealing damage once, it accidentally deals damage every frame. So you see now his health bar is all the way down and his wings have burnt off. So it effectively skipped a long aerial portion of that fight by just touching him with boost ball as quick as possible. So another fun fact about this boss, nice. So that it's intended that you kind of just stay locked on and you can shoot his mouth whenever it opens up. There was another mistake in this version of the game only where when he rears back like that and raises his hand is actually blocking his mouth. So that the animation, which is supposed to have a vulnerable section before the attack, you actually have to manually aim the shot and connect it just by free aiming and knowing where the hitbox is. So
That was a really clean Ridley fight. It's possible for if you miss that snipe when Ridley decides that they want to try to dash at you, they can continue to do it for a lot of times in a row. I think like one of the most that we've seen in Rando is like 15 to 18 attempts at dashing before it finally decides that it'll behave and do an attack that you can shoot it for. Also, because Ridley did not destroy very many of the totems that were in that room, the game thinks it's still there after the cutscene of the Chozo ghosts opening the way to the artifact or the impact crater. It's still there, so you can scan dash off of it and save a little bit of time. Oop, bonked my head. I'm doing here this little thing called core climb. This room is angry and has lots of teeth, and Jack and Jill, the two fish and Metroids in this room, are very prone to knocking you down their hill, and you can avoid stressing about them by simply jumping on standable things as we've done throughout the run. All right.
shout out to that room's internal name, Crater Dental, which is they just really leaned into the fact that there's teeth.
That's it.
Don't ask why.
Please be power. All right, there we go.
All right, Exo. It's a bit of a marathon. A lot of other bosses feel like a sprint. This is more about endurance and just not letting time slip away from you. So the first three sub-chambers are pretty
100%.
yep, are pretty deterministic. So here, power and wave are the only two vulnerabilities that Exo will show. So Reggie just, Simon says, follows the correct color and then knows which one is going to come next. Here, so the ice beam color will be introduced, as well as Exo's ability
RNG.
to dash back and forth. In each subchamber, there's kind of optimal patterns for the colors to go through and suboptimal patterns.
Go for swag.
And there's a couple.
Yes.
Nice.
That is not free.
And you can. I think you could have. Oh, I see. Yeah. So by shooting an ice spreader shot while it's dashing, the hitbox is still vulnerable there. It's just not locked onable anymore. So he was able to deal damage to the next phase while it's mid transition. So basically burnt through two phases at once and got done with that quickly. So this phase introduces Plasma Beam, as well as being able to
interesting.
grapple onto the player.
This is very rare that you see Ice Beam is the beam of choice during start of sub 3.
So Reggie is also doing something called Melee Manip. So normally, Exo, he's got it again, yo.
Oh yeah.
This is a
What are you
fast
gonna do?
Exo. So usually Exo kind of flips through randomly a couple attacks, but you can force Exo to always go for the melee attack, which has a real clean setup for avoiding and then dealing damage by just standing within melee range. So it's intended to keep the player at arm's length in order to kind of encourage this kind of back and forth dashing, battle. But by just standing close and getting it to repeat over and over that swipe attack, it makes it pretty deterministic, and you can kind of just rely on muscle memory to burn through health.
If Power Beam is final phase, I'll show off the fun. Okay, good RNG. In Subchamber 4, Exo decides that it will use all 4 beam possibilities in any order that it so chooses, also known as Chaos Phase. So we're especially depending... Oh my gosh.
We're
especially depending on melee minip to keep it from doing bad things, like changing beams, doing attacks that really suck to fight against. I'm probably going to miss this. No.
Oh, it changed. You hit it, and then it changed the ice, and then changed back.
Yep. There we go. There we go.
Nice. Clean.
Nice.
Very clean. I am extremely happy with how that went. All 3 of those ice spreader snipes are not easy. And Ice Spreader, while very easy to use, is technically slower unless you get that run by. Oh, I should have given you guys music.
There's a bug in this version of the game where if you skip the cutscene, you just don't get music. Normally that doesn't happen on the first playthrough because you can't skip cutscenes, which you haven't seen yet. So that probably slipped through the cracks at the end of this very poopy sounding development cycle. A lot of people worked really hard on this game to get it out on time. So there's a lot of history there if you want some interesting evening reading.
Oh, you are not in a good position. Can you move?
So,
okay.
While Richie finishes off this situation, for those that were interested in wanting to know more about Metroid Prime speedrunning, or maybe they're watching like, oh, this could be really fun, or I want to run the N80%, where would be a good place to go?
So there's a wiki page for speedrunning. You can just find it with an easy Google. That has a lot of resources on techniques. There's probably the easiest barrier of entry is there's a video by Justin DM called Prime Any Percent Tutorial. So that walks through the beginner-friendly any percent category, and he just
coming up soonish.
Yep.
Maybe if Exo or Essence decides to not be poopy. There we go.
But that's probably the best place to start. But
and that should be enough. All right, 3, 2, 1, time.
Nice. Nice. And shout outs to anyone from the community. Anyone that you would like to give a big shout out to.
Shout outs to Justin DM for having a giant brain and doing everything that he can to share information. Not a lot of the information on how to do these speedruns is very well documented or publicly accessible, and Justin is doing everything he can to make sure people have access to it. I would like to shout out the randomizer community and the rando devs. They are super fun. I love them. I enjoy them. And I played randomizer before I did my first speed run. And they pushed me. Some of the community members in there pushed me into doing that. I would also like to shout out a fallen homie, Nick / Chic Your Booty. Love you, buddy. Miss you. He would have been commentating on this if he were still here with us. And then lastly, I'd like to shout out the GDQ staff for always being so great and for supporting so many wonderful causes. It's truly an honor to be here and be on this channel and be able to share one of my favorite games with all of you.
Yeah, well, it's an honor to have you showcase this amazing run.
So we have some extra cutscenes to watch because we 100% in this game. Like Samus taking off her helmet, looking forlorningly at the rubble and wreckage that she has caused and the stress that she has been through.
Especially Lower Mines. That's probably what's flashing.
Yeah, Lower Mines. It's awful. It's a terrible place.
So,
Overall, I'm really happy. No major mistakes during the run. I had some small minor goofs, but I didn't cop out in any major choke points in the run, so I'm very happy. We're skipping the credits here by holding down. We're fixing the fact that the credits exist, and we're gonna see what the in-game time is here real fast.
while we do that, I do want to quickly say that while we're here at the end, we are at the end of the bargain bin. We do have She Is Speed coming up in just a moment with some amazing, fantastic games, including Crypt of the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule, and Tomb Raider 2. And of course, tomorrow we're going to have Game Master show about speedruns and speedrun adjacent content where people show off the mastery of their gaming, followed by Time Capsule, a show about speedrunning games that were released in the same year. Thank you all so very, very, very much. Looks like everything is good. Thank you all so very much. You all have a fantastic evening. Like I said, we're going to take a small break to get things set up for She Is Speed. Everyone, stay tuned. This is a great opportunity to hydrate, get up, rest, use the restroom, all that fun jazz. We'll be right back.
Tide PB.